It is in the very moment of our greatest despair, the Buddha once said, that the seeds of awakening are sown. There comes a time in life when everything feels still, but not in a peaceful way. It's the kind of stillness that makes your chest feel hollow, your thoughts feel heavy, and your heart unsure if it can carry on. The people around you may not notice, but deep inside you know something is missing, something is fading. The joy you used to feel, it's distant. The passion you once carried, it's gone quiet. And every attempt to fill the emptiness only makes it echo louder. But what if that emptiness is not a sign of failure, but a sacred pause? What if this sadness isn't your ending, but your beginning? In Buddhism, we don't run from these moments. We enter them with awareness, with stillness, and with grace. Because when life strips everything away, it doesn't leave you with nothing. It leaves you with truth. Let us begin. 1. Embrace the void as a sacred beginning. When life begins to feel empty, when you wake up and no longer feel excitement, when your daily routines feel meaningless, and when the people or things you used to enjoy no longer bring comfort, it can be deeply unsettling. Most people, when they find themselves in this space, immediately try to escape it. They reach for distractions like social media, constant noise, shopping, overworking, or clinging to relationships that offer temporary comfort, anything to avoid the strange silence inside. But in Buddhist philosophy, this empty feeling is not something to run away from. It is not a problem to be fixed. It is actually something sacred, something important. This emptiness is called shunyata, which translates to emptiness, but not in the negative way most people think. It does not mean lifeless or meaningless. Instead, it points to a deep truth, that nothing in this life is fixed, permanent, or solid. Everything changes, everything flows. What we thought was stable identity, our success, even our emotions are all constantly shifting. And in this realization, there is freedom, because if nothing is fixed, then we are never truly stuck. If everything is empty of fixed identity, it means we always have the power to start again. The void you feel inside is not the end of your life, it is the wide, open doorway to a new chapter. When you feel sadness, when you feel nothing at all, when your heart feels hollow and you don't know what's next, try not to label it as failure. These emotions are not signs that you are broken. They are signals that something deep within you is changing. A layer of your old identity, your old way of being, is beginning to dissolve. And while that can feel frightening, it is also necessary, because something truer, something more authentic, is trying to be born. Instead of running from the emptiness, try sitting with it. Breathe into it gently. Don't force answers. Don't rush to fix yourself. Just be present. Feel what is happening without judgment. This space of nothingness is where your real voice begins to whisper again, the voice that has been buried under the noise of the world, the expectations of others, and the rush of everyday life. When all else is stripped away, your achievements, your image, your busy schedule, what is left is your true self. And that self has wisdom. You don't need to fear the void. You need to listen to it. Because it is in the silence, in the stillness, in the sadness, that you begin to hear the deeper truth of who you are and who you're meant to become. This is not the end. It is the sacred beginning of your rebuilding. 2. Let go of the illusion of permanence. One of the deepest roots of human suffering is our tendency to believe that the good things in life should last forever. We cling to happiness, to relationships, to routines, to identities, believing that if we hold on tightly enough, we can make things stay the same. But life does not work that way. Everything that is born will change. Every season will pass. Every emotion will rise and fall. Every person, even the ones we love the most, will eventually change or move on. The Buddhist teaching of anicca, or impermanence, reminds us that nothing in this world is permanent, not our joys, not our sorrows, not even our sense of self. When life feels sad and empty, it's often because something we depended on has shifted or disappeared. Maybe a relationship ended. Maybe a dream didn't come true. Maybe a version of yourself you used to feel proud of no longer feels real. And in those moments it feels like your entire world is falling apart. But the truth is, it's not the end of the world. It's the end of a version of it. And while it hurts deeply, it's also natural. Impermanence does not mean that things are meaningless. On the contrary, it means that everything is precious because nothing lasts forever. The smile of a child, the warmth of a morning sun, the support of a friend, even the pain in your heart right now, they are all temporary visitors. And if we learn to accept this, we can meet each moment with presence instead of fear. We can love fully without trying to control. We can grieve fully without trying to numb. And we can let go not as a form of loss, but as an act of courage and peace. When something or someone leaves your life, it's easy to feel like you've lost part of your identity. But remember, your worth is not tied to your possessions, your past, or even your feelings. These things may come and go, but the awareness behind them, the observer within you, remains steady. That deeper self is not bound by the changes in your outer life. It watches with wisdom. It understands that life is a flowing river, not a still lake. Letting go does not mean you forget. It does not mean you pretend the pain isn't there. It means you stop trying to freeze a moment in time. It means you accept what was and allow space for what could be. Because when you stop clinging, your hands become free to receive again. When you release your grip on what is gone, you can finally turn and face what is here. So the next time you feel something slipping through your fingers, whether it's a person, a feeling, or a dream tree, not to chase it. Try to bow to it. Thank it for what it brought. Mourn it if you must. Then take a deep breath and return to yourself. Because the more you accept that everything changes, the more peace you will find in the one thing that doesn't, your own presence, here and now. 3. Rebuild, not by addition, but by subtraction. When life falls apart, when everything you once depended on collapses, it's natural to want to fix it quickly. Most people rush to rebuild their lives by adding more goals, more distractions, more things to chase. They believe that by filling the emptiness with new achievements, new relationships, or a new identity, they will feel whole again. But Buddhism teaches something profoundly different. It teaches that true healing does not come from adding more to your life. It comes from gently letting go of what was never real to begin with. This path is not about becoming something greater in the eyes of the world. It's about becoming more honest with yourself. You don't need to invent a new identity to feel better. You need to release the false ones you've carried for too long. The one that said you always have to be strong. The one that said your value comes from your productivity. The one that convinced you that you must always keep others happy, even if you suffer silently. These are not truths. They are burdens, and as long as you carry them, you will always feel exhausted. Buddhist practice invites you to strip away rather than pile on. Imagine a sculptor looking at a block of marble. The beauty is not created by adding to the block, but by removing everything that is not the statue. Your healing works the same way. Beneath all your roles, masks, and fears, there is a truer you. A softer, wiser, more peaceful version of you. But to find it, you must be willing to let go. Let go of the idea that you have to fix everything right away. Let go of the need to prove your worth. Let go of the pressure to return to normal. You are not a project to be perfected. You are a being to be remembered. What you're rebuilding is not some polished image of success. What you're rebuilding is your connection to truth, to what really matters, to what really feels right, to what really makes you feel alive. That's not found in your resume. It's not found in your follower count. It's found in the way you speak to yourself in quiet moments, in the way you show kindness to others even when you're hurting, in the way you choose to show up again and again, even when no one sees it. You don't need to become someone else to move forward. You need to unbecome who you are not. That is the power of subtraction. It's not about doing less, it's about being more real. Every habit, thought, and belief that you gently let go of becomes a space for peace to enter. Every false layer you remove brings you one step closer to the core of who you truly are. So if you're sitting in a life that feels stripped bare, don't rush to fill it. Sit with it. Ask yourself, what can I let go of? Not out of anger or shame, but out of love. Out of the desire to finally feel light again. The path to peace isn't paved with more, it's cleared with less. And in that clearing, your true self can finally breathe. 4. Practice loving awareness in the midst of pain. When sadness visits, most people instinctively turn away. We treat emotional pain like an unwanted guest at the door, something to hide, fix, ignore, or numb as quickly as possible. We distract ourselves with noise, drown our sorrow in busyness, or tell ourselves, I shouldn't feel this way, as if sadness is a sign of weakness or failure. But in Buddhism, we are taught a radically different approach. Pain is not something to escape, it is something to observe, to listen to, and to understand. The way forward is not to push pain away, but to meet it with loving awareness. Loving awareness is not about being passive or pretending everything is okay. It is a deliberate, compassionate attention to your inner world without judgment, without force, without trying to change anything right away. It means you give yourself permission to feel exactly what you're feeling, without labeling it as wrong or broken. You become the silent witness to your own heart. You sit beside your pain like you would sit beside a grieving friend, not trying to fix them, but simply offering your presence. That presence alone begins the healing. Imagine your sadness, not as a monster, but as a child who has been left in the dark for too long. That child doesn't need to be silenced. It needs to be seen. When you turn toward your pain with compassion, something begins to soften. The tension in your body eases. The storm inside your chest begins to quiet. And slowly, like a wound being washed clean, your heart begins to feel safe again. Safe not because the pain is gone, but because you're no longer running from it. This practice is often done through mindfulness, the art of observing your thoughts and emotions without becoming entangled in them. When a painful thought arises, instead of reacting to it or pushing it away, you can say gently to yourself, "This is a moment of suffering. May I meet it with kindness." You breathe deeply. You notice the sensations in your body. You let the waves of emotion rise and fall without clinging to them. This is the heart of Buddhist compassion, not something you offer only to others, but something you must first learn to offer to yourself. Some days, your pain will feel sharp and overwhelming. Other days, it will be dull and distant. But in both cases, it is asking for the same thing: your presence. Not your solutions, not your analysis, just your warm, curious, and non-judging attention. This doesn't mean you wallow in sadness or make it your identity. It means you stop fighting it long enough to understand what it's trying to show you. Often, beneath the pain is a forgotten truth, a boundary you didn't set, a need you ignored, a dream you buried. Pain speaks the language of truth, but only to those who are still enough to listen. When you begin to treat your suffering with the same gentleness you would offer a crying child or a trembling animal, you discover something miraculous. The pain transforms. It loses its edge. It reveals its message. And in its place, something new begins to grow: peace, understanding, a deeper connection to life itself. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by emotion, try not to run from it. Sit down. Breathe. Put your hand on your heart. Whisper to yourself, I am allowed to feel this. I am here. I am safe. This is not weakness, this is courage. To turn toward your pain instead of away from it is one of the most powerful things you will ever do, because in that turning you find the doorway to your healing. 5. Root yourself in small, sacred rituals. When life feels heavy, when your spirit is tired, your thoughts are loud, and your emotions shift like a restless sea. It's easy to feel like you are drowning in your own sadness. In these moments, even the smallest tasks can feel impossible. Getting out of bed can feel like climbing a mountain. Speaking to someone can feel like lifting 1,000 pounds. There is a temptation to give up completely or to wait for a massive wave of motivation to carry you out of the darkness. But Buddhism does not ask you to make grand, heroic efforts when you are hurting. It asks you to return to the smallest acts of presence. Because healing begins, not in big moments, but in the gentle rhythm of small, sacred rituals. In the chaos of modern life, we often underestimate the power of simplicity. We believe that change must be dramatic, that it must look impressive to others, that it must feel like transformation. But in truth, some of the most profound shifts happen in silence, in stillness, in repetition. The Buddha himself lived simply. His days were marked by mindful walking, quiet meals, periods of silence, and intentional breathing. These weren't empty routines. They were spiritual practices designed to anchor the heart in the present moment and remind the soul that peace is always within reach, even in times of great sadness. So when your life feels empty and unrecognizable, don't try to rebuild everything at once. Don't pressure yourself to fix all your problems or chase joy like it's a prize to be earned. Instead, focus on just one thing. Light a candle when you wake up. Drink your morning tea slowly, feeling the warmth in your hands. Take a short walk and notice the sky, the trees, the sound of your footsteps on the ground. Sit in silence for 5 minutes with your eyes closed and breathe without any goal other than to simply be. These tiny moments are not meaningless. They are sacred bridges, pathways that slowly carry you from your pain back into your body, your senses, and your life. You don't have to feel better right away. You don't even need to try. The goal is not to fix your emotions. The goal is to offer your nervous system, your tired heart, and your overwhelmed mind a rhythm, something steady to lean on while everything else feels uncertain. In Buddhism, there is a reason monks follow a daily schedule of repeated practices: meditation at dawn, mindful eating, walking in silence, chanting, sweeping the temple grounds. These are not chores. They are anchors. They remind the mind that life is not a race. They remind the heart that peace is not something to be earned in the future. It is something to return to in the present. You can create these rituals for yourself, even in the smallest ways. It might be a few words you whisper to yourself each morning. I am here. I am still alive. I am trying. It might be writing one honest sentence in a journal before bed. It might be lighting incense, taking a shower mindfully, or preparing your food with full attention. Over time, these small rituals begin to hold you. They become like invisible threads that slowly weave your soul back together. They create safety where fear once lived. They create connection where loneliness once ruled. And something else happens too. As you move through these small sacred acts with care, you begin to notice the world differently. The sunlight filtering through your window no longer feels meaningless. The sound of birds or wind or rain becomes music. The way your breath moves in and out of your chest becomes a reminder. You are still alive. You are still here. and that is enough for today. Let go of the idea that your healing has to look grand or inspiring. Let go of the pressure to impress anyone, including yourself. You are not behind, you are not broken, you are in a process. And in this process, the smallest step taken with presence is more powerful than the biggest leap taken in panic. If all you can do today is sit quietly and breathe, that is a sacred act. If all you can manage is to wash a cup mindfully or fold your blanket slowly, you are practicing the art of rebuilding. Because healing is not a straight road, it is a spiral, a wave, a gentle returning to what matters. So root yourself in the small things, the quiet things, the things the world doesn't celebrate, but your soul remembers. These are the moments where life begins again, not all at once, but moment by moment, breath by breath, ritual by ritual. 6. See the self as a river, not a rock. There is a quiet kind of suffering that lives in the belief that we are supposed to stay the same, that who we were yesterday must be who we are today, and that any change, confusion, or break in our identity means something is wrong. We carry around this invisible pressure to be consistent, to always know who we are, what we want, and how to act. We build a personality around our past, our choices, our image, and then cling to it as if it were the truth. But Buddhism gently invites us to loosen our grip. It reminds us that the self is not a solid, fixed thing. It is not a statue carved from stone. It is a flowing river, ever shifting, ever becoming, and never the same from one moment to the next. When your life feels sad, lost, or unfamiliar, when you look in the mirror and no longer recognize who you are, it is not because you are broken, it is because the river has turned. The old direction of your life has dissolved, and the current is moving you somewhere new. You are not supposed to cling to the banks, trying to hold on to the identity you once had. You are meant to surrender to the water and trust that life, in its quiet wisdom, is guiding you toward a different shore. The Buddhist understanding of self is subtle and profound. What we call me is not a single thing. It is a processor collection of changing thoughts, emotions, memories, physical sensations, and conditions that arise and pass. There is no fixed center, no unchanging core. Just like a flame or a wave, you exist as a continuous unfolding. Trying to define yourself permanently is like trying to capture the wind in your hands. It will slip through your fingers the moment you tighten your grip, and the tighter you grip, the more you suffer. When you experience pain or emptiness, it is often because a part of your constructed identity has collapsed. Maybe you saw yourself as someone who was always strong, or always kind, or always successful. But then something happened, life broke your heart, your plans unraveled, or your energy ran out, and now you're no longer sure who you are. This is where the suffering begins. In the belief that you must go back to who you were, that you must fix yourself and return to some stable version of your former self. But what if, instead of going backward, you allowed yourself to move forward, not knowing where you're going, but trusting the current? What if you let go of the idea that you must have a clear identity at all? What if you allowed yourself to be fluid, like waterable, to change form, to soften around obstacles, to carve new paths through old terrain? Imagine standing at the edge of a great river. You watch it flow past you, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes deep and calm, other times shallow and wild. You realize it is never the same river twice, yet it is always a river. The same is true for you. Your thoughts change, your emotions change, your desires change, your dreams change. But something deeper remains: the awareness behind it all, the presence that sees, the space in which it all unfolds. That is where your true identity lives. Not in what you do, not in what you feel, but in the awareness that watches it all with gentle clarity. To see yourself as a river is to give yourself permission to change without guilt, to grow without shame, to evolve without apology. You are not meant to be stuck in one role, one title, one image. You are here to transform again and again until all that remains is truth. When you feel lost, it is not a sign that you've failed. It is a sign that your soul is outgrowing a former shape. Just as a snake sheds its skin, just as the moon shifts its face, just as the seasons rotate in silence, you, too, are allowed to change. This does not mean you are unstable or unreliable. It means you are alive. Only dead things stay the same. Only lifeless objects remain unchanged. But you are breathing, feeling, becoming. And because you are alive, your truth will change, your needs will shift, and your sense of self will deepen over time. There may be days when the river feels wild and frightening, when you want to cling to a rock in the middle of the current and scream, "Who am I now?" And that's okay. Even rivers flood. Even rivers carve through stone. But trust that the movement itself is not your enemy, is your renewal. The river may feel uncertain, but it knows where it's going, even if you don't. Your job is not to map the entire course. Your job is to float, to listen, and to let the water teach you how to be soft and strong at the same time. And yes, others may struggle with your changes. They may say you've changed. They may ask why you're no longer the same. Let them. You do not owe the world your stillness. You owe yourself your growth. Do not shrink to fit the version of you that made others comfortable. Let yourself become who you are now fully, honestly, unapologetically. So if you are standing in a moment of confusion, where the ground beneath you feels like it's dissolving, take heart. You are not crumbling. You are flowing. You are not lost. You are in transit. You are not broken. You are breaking free. Let go of the image you were trying to protect. Let go of the pressure to be someone fixed and unchanging. You are a river. You are motion. You are possibility in every direction. And every drop of you is sacred. 7. Let the silence build your inner temple. When everything around you begins to collapse, when the people you trusted drift away, when the goals you fought for lose their meaning, when your heart feels hollow and your soul feels weary, there will come a moment when you look outside yourself and see nothing to hold on to. The noise of the world that once distracted you grows faint, the lights dim, the applause stops, and in that unbearable stillness you come face to face with something most people spend their whole lives avoiding, the silence within. This silence can feel terrifying. For so long you were busy. You had plans, roles to play, things to prove. Your mind was always full of noise, of fear, of ambition, of worry. But now, it's just quiet, still, empty. And the first instinct is to run from that emptiness, to fill it with anything you can: people, entertainment, food, scrolling, talking, working. But Buddhism offers a different invitation, one that may feel unfamiliar and difficult at first, yet is profoundly transformative. Stay with the silence. Don't run from it. Let it teach you. Let it build something inside you that no one can ever take away. Because this silence, it is not emptiness in the way the world defines it. It is not the absence of life. It is the presence of everything that is eternal. It is the doorway to your inner temple space within you that is not touched by the chaos outside, not disturbed by the opinions of others, not shaken by loss, not broken by failure. It is the sanctuary of your soul. And it is in silence that you begin to remember it exists. We spend so much of our lives building temples outside of ourselves, chasing status, collecting possessions, curating perfect images, pleasing others, accumulating knowledge and titles. But all of these are fragile. All of them are temporary. And when life removes theme, and life always does, we are left standing in the ruins, unsure of who we are without our armor. That is when silence arrives. And though it may seem like a cruel visitor, it is not here to punish you. It is here to guide you inward. It is here to help you see that the truest part of you was never in those things. It was always in the quiet space behind them. The Buddha often withdrew into forests, into caves, into solitude, not to escape life, but to understand it more clearly. Silence was not his enemy, it was his teacher. And through that silence, he realized that all suffering begins when we forget who we are at the core. Not our name, not our job, not our appearance, but the awareness behind all of it. The still, watching presence. The space between thoughts. The peace beneath the waves. To build your inner temple, you must first learn to sit in that stillness. Not for hours at a time, not with perfect posture or a blank mind, but gently, consistently, and with compassion. You sit not to escape your pain, but to make peace with it. You sit not to become someone better, but to remember the wholeness that was always within you. You sit not to fix your life, but to feel what it's truly made of. And in that sitting, in that breathing, in that silent witnessing, something begins to awaken. Slowly, without force, without noise, a warmth grows in your chest, a lightness enters your body. A soft clarity settles in your mind. The anxiety that once screamed now begins to whisper. The sadness that flooded you now moves like a gentle tide. The self-doubt that clouded your thoughts begins to dissolve in the calm. This is not magic. This is not some mystical enlightenment. It is simply what happens when you finally come home to yourself. When you stop running, when you stop grasping, when you stop looking for answers in places that can never hold them. The silence is not empty. It is full of truth. It holds every answer you've been chasing outside of yourself. It reveals your patterns. It shows you what you've been avoiding. It whispers truths you weren't ready to hear until now. At first, the silence may make you cry. It may bring grief to the surface. Old wounds, forgotten disappointments, buried shame. That's okay. Let them rise. The temple must be cleared before it can be rebuilt. Don't judge what comes. Don't rush the process. Just witness it. You are not your thoughts. You are not your pain. You are the one watching. And that watcher is still and whole and free. As you continue to return to silence each morning, each evening, even for just a few minutes, you begin to feel a shift. You no longer react to life the same way. You no longer seek validation from places that used to control you. You no longer panic when plans fall apart. Because now, you know where your center is. And no matter what changes outside of you, your inner temple remains. It becomes your refuge, your strength, your compass. Eventually, this silence follows you. Into conversations, into crowds, into chaos. You may still feel pain, but it no longer owns you. You may still feel fear, but it no longer paralyzes you. You begin to walk through life with a quiet dignity, a grounded presence, a peace that others can feel even if they don't understand it. And without trying, you become a source of calm in the storm for yourself and for others. In a world addicted to noise, silence is a revolutionary act. In a culture obsessed with doing, silence is a radical form of being. And in a society that defines you by what you have, silence brings you back to who you are. So let the silence build your temple. Let it be the space where your soul can breathe again. Let it teach you how to live, not from fear, but from presence, not from ego, but from awareness, not from confusion, but from truth. You don't need to build a perfect life. You need to build a strong foundation inside yourself. And that foundation is silence, stillness, spaciousness, peace. Return to it, rest in it, and let it make you whole. 8. Begin again, as many times as you need. There is a quiet heaviness that comes when you feel like you've failed, not just once, but over and over. When life doesn't go the way you hoped, when relationships fall apart, when your inner peace crumbles under pressure, and you find yourself back in the same sadness, the same fear, the same confusion again. It's easy to believe you've gone too far in the wrong direction, that you've missed your chance, that you're too broken, too late, too lost to start over. But Buddhism carries within it one of the most tender, merciful truths of all. You are allowed to begin again, as many times as it takes, as gently as you need, for as long as you need. There is no expiration date on your healing. There is no limit to how many times you can return to your path, and there is no shame in having to start over, even if you've done it 1,000 times before. The universe, like the breath, never asks you to be perfect. It simply asks you to return. When the mind wanders, we come back to the breath. When we fall into anger or fear, we return to the present moment. When we forget our peace, we return to it with humility. This is the practice. This is the path. In many Buddhist traditions, meditation is not about maintaining constant peace or stillness. It is about coming back again and again with kindness. You sit, your mind drifts, you notice, and you return. No guilt, no punishment, just return. This small act of returning again and again to your center is the foundation of transformation. It's not the moments when you feel perfect that change you. It's the moments when you fall, pause, forgive yourself, and gently begin again. The truth is, healing is not a straight path. It's not a mountain you climb until you reach the top and finally feel fixed. It's a spiral, a cycle, a dance of remembering and forgetting, of falling and rising. Some days you will feel strong, radiant, full of light. Other days you'll feel like you're back at the beginning, fragile, unsure, tired of trying. This does not mean you're failing. It means you're alive. It means you're walking the real path, one without shortcuts, without illusions. When you feel like you're falling apart, that's not the end of your story. It's an invitation to begin again, not as the person you once were, not as someone trying to reclaim a past identity, but as someone new. Someone softened by the struggle, someone shaped by the silence. Someone humbled by pain and expanded by compassion. Someone wiser, not because they avoided darkness, but because they learned how to sit with it and listen. Buddhism does not expect you to always be mindful, always be kind, always be balanced. It expects you to return to these states as often as you can with love. If you lose your temper, return to peace. If you fall into despair, return to hope. If you forget who you are, return to your breath. The act of returning is not weakness, it is strength of the soul. It is the sign of someone who refuses to give up on themselves. There is a beautiful Japanese concept called kintsugi, art of repairing broken pottery with gold. The idea is not to hide the cracks, but to honor them, to fill them with something precious, to show that the object is more beautiful because it was broken. In the same way, every time you break and choose to rebuild, every time you begin again with love, instead of shame, you fill the cracks of your soul with gold. You become more whole, not less. Let go of the idea that your life is supposed to be linear. Let go of the story that says you've fallen too far, waited too long, or failed too deeply to return. In Buddhism, even the most deeply ingrained patterns can be dissolved with awareness and patience. Even the darkest karma can be transformed with compassion and intention. You are never beyond healing. You are never too late to change. As long as you are breathing, you have the power to begin again. And beginning again doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as taking a deep breath when you want to scream. Sometimes it's drinking a glass of water instead of spiraling into self-hate. Sometimes it's putting one foot on the ground in the morning when everything inside you wants to stay buried in bed. These small acts are not insignificant. They are seeds of courage. And over time, they grow into a life that feels rooted and real. Every morning, the sun begins again. Every tide, every breath, every tree that sheds its leaves in winter, they all begin again. You are a part of this cycle. Nature does not punish the leaf for falling. It simply makes room for the new one to grow. Why should you treat yourself with less kindness than a tree or a wave or the moon? When you wake up feeling lost, when you stumble and fall into your old habits, when the sadness comes back like a storm you thought you already survived, don't panic. Don't shame yourself. Just pause, breathe, bow your head if you need to, and begin again, not with force, but with softness, not with pressure, but with presence. The path is not a race. There is no finish line. You don't have to arrive anywhere to be worthy of peace. Your healing is not measured by how fast you recover, but by how gently you return to yourself. Again and again. With each breath. With each step. Begin again, as many times as you need. That is the way of the awakened heart. 9. The storm will pass, but who you become will stay. There is a certain kind of pain that doesn't just touch the body or stir the mind, it swallows the spirit. It arrives uninvited, unexpected, like a storm rolling in on a clear day. One moment, everything makes sense. The next, your world is drenched in uncertainty, grief, or sorrow. The ground beneath you no longer feels stable. The light you used to follow feels far away. And in that darkness, you may begin to ask, why is this happening to me? Will it always feel this way? Will I ever feel like myself again? These questions are normal. They are part of the storm. And Buddhism doesn't turn away from these moments, it steps into them fully. It does not deny suffering. It does not wrap it in false promises or thin comforts. Instead, it looks suffering in the eye and says, this too is part of life. This too is a teacher. And most importantly, this too will pass. Everything in this world is impermanent. This is not just a lesson to be understood intellectually, it is something to be lived, especially in times of deep pain. In Buddhist teachings, impermanence is not a pessimistic truth. It is a liberating one. It means that no matter how intense the suffering is, it cannot and will not last forever. Just as storms eventually break into sunlight, just as winter eventually gives way to spring, your suffering, too, will one day soften, shift, and dissolve. Not because you forced it to disappear, but because everything in this life is in motion. But while the storm will pass, the transformation it awakens in you, the stillness it teaches, the courage it demands, the wisdom it reveals, that is what will stay. The fire may go out, but the one who walked through it will never be the same. And that is not a tragedy. That is a quiet kind of miracle. Pain shapes you not by breaking you, but by showing you who you are beneath everything you once thought defined you. It's in the hardest moments of life that your inner foundation is revealed. When everything is taken from you, when you're stripped bare, when you are down to nothing, that is when you discover what truly matters. And even more powerfully, you discover what has always been inside you. Strength you didn't know you had. Patience that never had a chance to shine. A quiet resilience that rises not with noise, but with grace. The storm does not leave you empty. It leaves you more true. In many Buddhist stories, the process of awakening is not peaceful at the beginning. It begins with disillusionment, with heartbreak, with realizing that the world is not what you expected, that people are not always what you hoped, that life doesn't obey your rules. This can feel like devastation, but it is actually the clearing of illusion, the dismantling of false expectations. And while it hurts to lose these illusions, what replaces them is far more lasting: understanding, compassion, and equanimity. The storm breaks apart your attachments, not to punish you, but to free you. The attachment to who you were, the attachment to a future you tried to control, the attachment to comfort, security, or perfection. And when these attachments fall away, yes, there is pain, but there is also room for a new way of living, one that is more flexible, more present, more deeply in tune with the changing nature of all things. During the storm, you may feel like you are drowning in emotion, and it's okay to feel that way. Let yourself cry. Let yourself shake. Let yourself say, "I don't know what I'm doing." Because healing does not come from pretending to be strong. It comes from honoring your softness. It comes from letting the waves pass through you, rather than trying to stand still and unmovable in the tide. Meditation during these times isn't about silencing the storm. It's about sitting in the middle of it without collapsing. It's about returning to your breath even when your mind is screaming. It's about touching the ground even when everything feels unsteady. And with each breath, you remind yourself, I am still here. I am still breathing. I am still alive. These simple truths, repeated gently, become your anchor in the wind. And the more you return to this anchor, the more you begin to witness the storm rather than be consumed by it. You see it rise. You see it peak. And you begin to see the spaces in between, the small moments of quiet, the brief flickers of light, the subtle return of your own presence. These small signs are not insignificant. They are sacred. They are the first signs that you are healing, even when it doesn't feel like it. Eventually, the storm begins to pass. The emotions lessen. The chaos inside begins to settle. And in that clearing, you meet a version of yourself that didn't exist before. Someone who has seen darkness and stayed. Someone who has touched despair and continued breathing. Someone who no longer needs certainty to feel safe. This version of you is not the same as before, but it is more whole, more compassionate, more rooted in truth. You begin to realize that the storm wasn't the end of you, it was the revealing of you. Like the lotus that grows in the mud, your wisdom came not in spite of the suffering, but because of it. And now, you carry a kind of quiet strength, not the strength that needs to be loud or admired, but the kind that allows you to sit with anyone's pain and say, I know this place, I've been here too, and I promise you will make it through. This is how storms serve us. Not by destroying us, but by washing away what is false, so that what is real can remain. The smile that returns after the storm is not the same smile as before. It is softer, deeper, touched by the knowing that life is fragile and beautiful and painful and precious all at once, and that you, just like the earth, know how to hold all of it. So if you're in the middle of a storm right now, if your heart is tired, your hope is dim, and your body is aching for relief, pause, breathe. Place your hand over your chest and whisper to yourself, this will pass, but who I become will stay. And when it does pass, when the sky begins to open and the sunlight filters back in, remember this: you are not the same. You are not broken. You are not less. You are becoming, and what you are becoming is something rare and beautiful. Someone who can walk through fire and come out with compassion instead of bitterness. Someone who can lose everything and still find peace. Someone who knows that storms are not the end, but the doorway to awakening. Let the storm change you. Let it soften what was rigid. Let it deepen what was shallow. Let it show you that you were never the storm, you were the sky. And even in the darkest hour, the sky remains. 10. Your sadness is a bridge, not a wall. There is a moment in every person's life when sadness becomes too loud to ignore. It doesn't knock politely. It doesn't ask if now is a good time. It floods the heart, clouds the mind, and darkens the spirit. Some mornings you wake and can't explain the heaviness. Other times it comes after a loss, a failure, a betrayal, or the slow erosion of things you once thought would last forever. And in that still, aching silence, a terrible belief begins to form. This sadness is a wall. I am cut off from life. I can't go forward. I am stuck here forever. But Buddhism teaches us something radically different. Sadness is not a wall. It is a bridge, a sacred crossing between who you were and who you're meant to become. It's not here to trap you, but to take you deeper. It is a part of your journey, not a deviation from it. Sadness does not mean you are broken. It means you are feeling life in its full depth. It means you are awake. It means your soul has become honest. Most of us have been taught that sadness is something to escape, that it's negative, weak, or a problem to be fixed as quickly as possible, and so we distract ourselves. We bury our emotions beneath noise, achievement, people, or control. We build walls around our hearts, thinking that if we can just block the sadness out, we'll be safe. But what if the very thing we're trying to avoid is the one thing that can actually heal us? In Buddhist thought, emotions are not enemies. They are not disruptions of peace. They are pathways to presence. Even sadness has its place on the path to awakening. It softens pride. It opens the heart. It reveals the truth that was too quiet to hear when life was easy and loud. Sadness says, slow down. Something here matters. And when you listen instead of run, you discover a tenderness within yourself that can never be found through constant strength. You begin to see how sadness brings clarity. In your most sorrowful moments, you see what truly matters. You notice the fragility of life, the preciousness of time, the faces that comfort you, the simplicity that nourishes you. You realize that love is not about perfection or performance, it's about presence. Sadness strips away the noise and reveals the truth, that everything is temporary, and because it is temporary, it is sacred. When you allow sadness to walk beside you not as a shadow, but as a teacher, it becomes a bridge that connects you back to yourself. You stop hiding, you stop pretending, you stop numbing. And in that rawness, you finally meet the version of yourself that is not based on image, role, or identity, but on truth. You begin to live from the inside out, from the heart, not the mask. One of the most powerful teachings in Buddhism is that suffering comes not from what we feel, but from our resistance to what we feel. The emotion itself is not the enemy, it's our story about it. We think, I shouldn't feel this way. This means I've failed. This means I'm broken. But sadness is not weakness. Sadness is part of being human. And when we stop resisting it, we begin to see that it moves like water. It rises, it flows, and eventually it passes. But in its passing, it leaves behind nourishment, space, wisdom, growth. Sometimes sadness is not even yours alone. It's ancestral, generational. It's the collective sorrow of a world that has forgotten how to slow down, how to feel, how to care. When you allow yourself to feel it fully, without shame, you become a healer not just for yourself, but for those who came before you and those who will come after. You become part of the great work of bringing compassion back into a world that desperately needs it. But let us be honest, feeling sadness hurts. It can be exhausting. It can bring tears at inconvenient times. It can make you feel alone in a crowded room. That's why compassion is so important. Buddhist compassion begins with the self, not in an indulgent way, but in a sacred way. You place your hand over your heart and say, I am hurting, and I am here for myself. You become your own guardian, your own witness, your own gentle friend. When you feel your sadness rising, try not to analyze it. Don't try to solve it like a math problem. Don't rush to make it poetic or meaningful. Just feel it. Let it move through your body. Let it sit beside you in silence. Let it soak into the soil of your soul like rain into dry earth. And trust that it is doing something, even if you can't see it. It is softening your defenses. It is deepening your capacity to love. It is reminding you that you're alive. In many Buddhist monasteries, when monks experience sadness, they do not isolate or hide. They bring it into their practice. They sit with it on the meditation cushion. They bow with it. They walk with it, not to get rid of it, but to be present with it, because they understand that nothing in life can be healed through avoidance, only through presence, only through love. Sadness is not a sign that you've lost the path. It's a sign that the path has brought you to a deeper layer. It's the bridge between the surface and the soul. And if you're willing to cross it slowly, honestly, you will find something on the other side that joy alone could never have given you. Depth, integrity, wholeness. You will learn that it's okay to not always be okay. That peace is not the absence of sadness, but the ability to hold sadness with grace. That healing does not mean you never hurt it, means you no longer fear your hurting. It means your pain has become part of your practice, and in that practice you are free. So the next time you feel your heart drop, your spirit quiet, your body sink beneath the weight of sadness, pause. Sit, breathe. Don't try to climb out of it. Don't try to distract yourself. Instead, look around. You are on the bridge. And the view from here, though cloudy, is sacred. Whisper gently to yourself, "This is not the end. This is the crossing. This is the work. This is the way back to me." And keep walking. True healing begins when you stop trying to be who you were. There comes a point in every spiritual journey after the grief, after the confusion, after the storms have broken through, when a strange and quiet question arises: can I go back to being who I was? And at first, this question feels innocent, even hopeful. You long to feel normal again. You want to return to the person you were before the sadness, before the loss, before everything fell apart. You want your old energy, your old smile, your old confidence back. You want to resume the life you once knew as if nothing had happened. But Buddhism offers a truth that is both humbling and liberating. You are not meant to go back. You are not meant to be who you were. Because the version of you that existed before the breaking was never the final version. It was not the complete truth. It was one layer, one chapter, one necessary illusion along the path of awakening. And now that you've seen what you've seen, felt what you've felt, and broken where you've broken, your healing cannot come from reclaiming the past. It must come from releasing it. In Buddhist wisdom, clinging is the root of suffering. And one of the deepest forms of clinging is the attachment to a former identity. We cling to who we used to be, the roles we played, the energy we had, the dreams we carried as, if they are the only blueprint for our future. But clinging to a former self is like holding onto the skin a snake has already shed. That skin once protected you, but now it restricts you. It no longer fits. And if you try to squeeze back into it, you will only suffocate your growth. There is nothing wrong with who you used to be. That version of you carried you through what it could. It did the best it could with the understanding it had. But healing does not mean getting back to that version. Healing means honoring that self, bowing to it with love, and then gently letting it go. Because now, something deeper is ready to emerge. When you stop trying to be who you were, a strange thing happens. You begin to breathe again. You begin to soften. The pressure to perform, to please, to prove begins to fall away. You give yourself permission to not know who you are right now. You allow the identity that has crumbled to stay crumbled, and in that stillness, something ancient awakens inside you. Not a better version of your past, but a truer version of your soul. In many Buddhist traditions, there is a reverence for the space between the falling away of the old and the arising of the new. It is not rushed, it is not filled, it is honored. This space, called the Bardo in Tibetan teachings, is a sacred threshold. It is the moment when the former self has died, but the new self has not yet been born. It is uncomfortable, it is uncertain, but it is holy. And in your own life, this space exists too. You may find yourself in this bardo after a breakup, after a spiritual awakening, after losing your job, or even just after realizing you no longer recognize your own reflection, and the mind will panic. It will scream, go back to what was familiar. But your soul knows there is no going back, there is only forward. Not in a straight line, not with clarity, but with courage, with presence, with a willingness to unfold. When you stop trying to be who you were, you also stop judging your healing based on outdated standards. You stop asking, why don't I feel the way I used to? Or, why can't I just be happy like before? Instead, you ask, what is true for me now? You begin to make peace with your new rhythms, your new sensitivities, your new boundaries. You start to see that your tears are not regression, they are integration. Your stillness is not laziness, it is wisdom. Your discomfort is not failure, it is transformation. One of the most important shifts in Buddhist practice is the movement from ego-based identity to awareness-based being. The ego says, I was this, I should be that. I must return. Awareness says, this is what is here now. Let me meet it with compassion. When you live from awareness, you no longer need to constantly perform or explain yourself. You don't need to match who you were yesterday. You simply meet each moment as it is with honesty, with kindness, and with the gentle trust that this too belongs. In this space of surrender, you begin to see that the person you thought you lost was never the real you. The real you is the one who watched it all happen, the one who stayed, the one who broke and still breathed, the one who let go and still loved. That self is not flashy. It doesn't fit into easy labels. It may not even feel familiar at first, but it is steady, it is wise, and it is finally free. So if you find yourself grieving the person you used to be, let that grief be sacred. Light a candle for your old self. Thank them for all they carried. But do not try to resurrect them. Do not try to return. You are not a project being restored to a former condition. You are a living, breathing, evolving being, and your healing will take you somewhere new, somewhere softer, somewhere more true than you've ever been. Your energy may look different now. You may move slower, you may speak less, you may laugh more quietly. That's okay. You are not less. You are deeper. You are becoming more rooted in your being than in your doing, more anchored in your soul than in your survival, and that is the greatest healing of all. In the end, your transformation will not be about becoming someone better. It will be about becoming someone real. Someone who no longer needs to prove their worth through constant performance. Someone who can sit in silence and feel full. Someone who can let go of the old story and still feel whole. That is what healing looks like, not a return, but a rebirth. So pause. Breathe. Let the old self rest. You are not going back. You are going deeper. The gentle power of simply being. In a world obsessed with doing, proving, fixing, and achieving, it can feel almost unnatural, maybe even uncomfortable, to simply sit still and be. From a young age, we are taught that our worth is tied to motion, to progress, to productivity. That unless we are accomplishing something, unless we are improving ourselves or chasing a goal, we are wasting time. We are falling behind. We are losing the race. But Buddhism quietly, firmly, and compassionately offers a different truth that might feel foreign at first, but is deeply healing once it's understood. It tells us that being is not the absence of purpose. It is the heart of it. That underneath all our doing, our striving, our endless inner noise, there is a gentle, quiet space. A space that doesn't need to be earned or proved or perfected. A space that already is, that already knows, that already holds peace, and that space is you. Not the image of you, not the past or future version of you, but the presence of you awake, aware, and quietly alive in this very moment. Most of us live our lives as if we are always on the verge of something, on the edge of becoming. We say, I'll feel calm when I finish this. I'll feel happy when I have that. I'll feel worthy when I become someone better. But that moment never truly arrives, because every time we reach one finish line, a new one appears on the horizon. The mind says, not yet, you're not there, keep going. And so we keep running, keep pushing, never quite able to rest. But what if the rest you're looking for doesn't come at the end of effort, but in the space between? What if peace isn't something you earn by doing everything right, but something you remember when you stop doing altogether? This is the essence of the Buddhist path, not to become more, but to become still. Not to chase enlightenment as a goal, but to uncover the silence that was always within you. A silence not of emptiness, but of fullness. A silence that is not lifeless, but sacred. In the practice of meditation, this is what we train ourselves to return to. We sit, we breathe, we let thoughts come and go, we release the stories, we drop the roles, and we simply exist moment to moment without needing to perform, to achieve, or to change. And in that stillness, we begin to see something profound, that our being has value, even when we are doing nothing at all, that we do not need to be useful to be lovable, that we do not need to be impressive to be divine. This realization does not come all at once. For most people, especially those carrying years of pain, guilt, or pressure, the idea of simply being feels lazy, or scary, or wrong. We think, if I stop moving, I'll fall apart. If I stop fixing, everything will collapse. But these are illusions, stories we were told, stories we internalized to survive. The truth is, there is a power in stillness that the world cannot see. A courage in being that the world does not celebrate. And yet, it is the stillest people, the most rooted, the most present, who carry the deepest strength. The tree that does not rush, yet grows strong. The mountain that does not speak, yet commands presence. The breath that comes and goes without asking, yet keeps us alive. To simply be is not passive, it is radical. In a world built on speed, urgency, and noise, choosing to slow down and return to your inner silence is an act of rebellion, a sacred rebellion, one that says, I am enough, even here, even now, even without more. When life feels sad and empty, when your heart aches and your mind races, the temptation is to run into distraction, into action, into control. But healing often does not come from more movement. It comes from presence, from the gentle choice to stop, to sit, to breathe, to place your hand on your chest and say, I don't need to do anything right now. I am already here. This is not a solution. This is not a trick. This is truth. And from this space of being, something beautiful begins to emerge, not forced, not pushed, but revealed. The body softens, the mind quiets, the nervous system resets, the heart begins to trust again, because it realizes that safety is not somewhere far away, it is in this breath, in this moment, in this presence. Over time, the more you practice simply being, the more you begin to see that life itself is not happening later, it is happening now, in the sound of the wind through the trees, in the feel of your breath against your skin, in the light in someone's eyes, in the way your hand moves over warm tea, in the space between two thoughts. And in this space, this simple, sacred space, you come alive again, not in a dramatic way, but in a real one, quiet, steady, rooted, awake. You stop measuring your worth by how much you get done. You stop judging your day by how productive you were. You begin to ask different questions. Not, what did I achieve? But, was I present? Not, did I impress anyone? But, was I kind? Not, did I make progress? But, did I come home to myself? Because in the end, it is not what you build or how fast you move that defines your life. It is how fully you lived each moment. And to live fully, you must learn how to be, how to sit with yourself in silence, how to witness your thoughts without needing to believe them, how to breathe without needing to fix everything, how to stay with yourself, especially when the world tries to pull you away. Buddhism teaches that the ultimate awakening is not about becoming someone new, it's about becoming fully present, here, now, as you are, with nothing to prove and nothing to chase, just this breath, just this life. So, if you are weary from trying to be strong, if you are tired of chasing joy, if your heart feels fragile and your soul feels lost, pause. Sit. Breathe. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not doing it wrong. You are just being invited to rest, to return, to remember, to be. That is where the true power lives, not in noise, not in effort, but in the silent, steady presence of your own being. Let it hold you. Let it heal you. Let it become enough. You are already enough, even as you heal. There is a quiet ache that often follows us through life. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes it whispers, but it's always there, tucked just beneath the surface of our striving. It says, you are not enough, not yet. Not until you fix your past, not until you heal all your wounds, not until you become wiser, calmer, kinder, better. And so we keep chasing. We meditate more, we read more books, we try to say the right things, feel the right emotions, think the right thoughts. But beneath all of it, we are still carrying the weight of that belief that we are incomplete, that we are a problem waiting to be solved. But Buddhism, at its most tender and luminous core, says something utterly radical. You are not broken. You are not lacking. You are already whole, even as you hurt, even as you heal, even as you forget your wholeness again and again. In the West, healing is often presented as a journey toward perfection, a ladder, a checklist, something linear, measurable, with a final destination that says, now you are healed, now you are worthy. But this mindset keeps you trapped. It makes your very existence a task to constantly improve. And it quietly poisons the present moment with the idea that you are not good enough until some future version of you emerges. But Buddhist teachings offer something softer, something deeper. They remind us that true healing is not about becoming someone better. It's about realizing that who you are beneath the pain was never broken to begin with. You may be hurting, you may be exhausted, you may be unsure of who you are anymore, but even in that, you are still enough. Not someday, not when you're further along. Now, in this breath, in this exact moment. With all your cracks and questions, you are not a failure in progress. You are a soul in motion. You are not a construction project. You are a living, breathing mystery. In many Buddhist traditions, the lotus is a symbol of awakening. But what makes the lotus beautiful is not just its bloomits where it grows. In the mud, in the thick, dark waters where nothing seems pure. The lotus does not rise despite the mood it rises because of it. And you, too, are a lotus. Your sadness, your fear, your confusion, these are not signs that you're doing something wrong. They are the sacred soil in which your compassion grows. To say that you are enough does not mean you will never grow. It means your growth will not be fueled by shame. It means you are allowed to evolve from love, not lack. You don't have to hustle for your worth. You don't have to apologize for your softness. You don't have to delay your peace until you've earned it. This understanding changes everything. It means that when you fall back into old patterns, you can say to yourself, even this is part of my healing. It means that when you feel tired and empty, you can whisper, even now, I am enough. It means that when you don't have the answers, you don't need to panic. You can rest in the mystery, knowing that your being is still sacred. When you believe you are not enough, you rush, you push, you abandon yourself to reach a version of you that you think others will finally approve of. But when you know you are already enough, you slow down. You breathe deeper. You speak kinder words to yourself. You treat your inner world like a garden, not a battlefield. Buddhist practice is not about improving the self, it's about seeing through the illusion of a fixed, limited self. The ego says, I must become something more. But awareness says, I already am. I already exist within the great flow of life. This does not mean you stop learning or healing. It means you stop doing it from a place of self-rejection. Let go of the story that healing has to look like constant progress. Let go of the idea that joy and peace are only available once you've finished your inner work. They are available now, in the way your breath moves in and out, in the warmth of sunlight on your face, in the quiet presence of a single kind thought. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need a 10-step plan. You just need to return again and again to the knowing that you are not a mistake. You are not too much. You are not too far gone. You are not a burden to be fixed. You are a sacred being learning how to come home to yourself. Healing is not about escaping pain. It's about learning how to hold it without letting it define you. It's about touching your wounds and saying, even here, I am worthy of love. It's about breathing into your sorrow and trusting that life is still moving through you, still teaching you, still unfolding with grace, even if you can't yet see it. You are not here to earn love. You are here to remember that you are love. You are not here to chase wholeness. You are here to remember that wholeness was never missing. You are not here to become someone else. You are here to return to who you've always been beneath the fear. Even now, especially now, there is nothing missing from you. Let this truth soften your shoulders. Let it quiet the mind that is always trying to measure, compare, or fix. Let it melt the walls you've built around your heart. Let it guide you into a slower rhythm, a deeper breath, a fuller presence. Because the truth is, the moment you stop believing that you have to become something else to be worthy is the moment your real healing begins. And from that place of enoughness, you do not shrink. You bloom. You rise, not because you're trying to prove something, but because rising is what life does. Because love cannot be buried forever. Because peace is not something you earn, it's something you remember. So, dear one, wherever you are in your journey, whether you are just beginning, or walking through the middle of the storm, or sitting in the silence of not knowing, pause, breathe, and say gently to your own heart, I am already enough, not because I've healed, not because I've figured it all out, but because I exist, because I breathe, because I am here. And that is more than enough. The art of holding on without clinging. Human life is made of attachments. From the moment we are born, we grasp. First at our mother's finger, then at comfort, at approval, at success, at people, at meaning. We hold on to what makes us feel secure. We hold on to what gives us a sense of identity, purpose, direction, and it's only natural because the world can feel so uncertain. Holding on becomes our way of anchoring ourselves in the chaos. But what happens when what you're holding begins to change? What happens when the thing or person you built your peace around begins to slip away? What happens when life, in its natural rhythm of impermanence, starts to unravel what you've clutched too tightly? Buddhism answers this question not with fear, but with understanding. It offers a path not of detachment from life, but of non-clinging. A subtle but powerful art, the art of holding on without clinging. It teaches us that love, joy, success, and beauty are all part of life. But our suffering does not come from experiencing them. It comes from grasping at them, from insisting they stay the same forever, from trying to freeze what is inherently fluid. We try to lock life in place, but life is a river. And when we refuse to let it flow, we drown in our own expectations. To hold without clinging means we can experience life fully with depth, with heart, with reverence, without trying to possess it. It means loving people without chaining them to your happiness. It means enjoying success without letting it define your worth. It means embracing moments of beauty while knowing they will eventually pass and being okay with that. But this doesn't come easily. The mind loves certainty. It loves control. It says, if I can just hold on tightly enough, I won't lose anything. I won't be hurt. I won't be abandoned. I'll be safe. And so we hold our relationships too tightly. We hold our self-image too tightly. We hold on to timelines, outcomes, routines, believing that if we can keep everything exactly how it is, we will finally feel secure. But the truth is, clinging is not safety, it is a prison. When you cling, you close your hands around something and say, stay, don't move, don't grow, don't change. But nothing in this world can stay still, not even you. And the tighter you hold, the more life must eventually break free. We mistake clinging for love. We mistake control for care. We think that letting go means not valuing something. But in Buddhist wisdom, letting go is not rejection, is freedom. It is the deepest expression of trust. It is saying, I honor this moment, this person, this gift, and I do not need to own it to love it. This is what the Buddha taught when he spoke of upadanathe, fuel of suffering. It's not the things themselves that cause pain, but the attachment to them. When we base our happiness on something that is guaranteed to change, we suffer, because change is not a glitch in the system, it is the system. So how do we live fully, love deeply, and still release what we must? The answer is found in the middle way. In the quiet practice of holding things with open palms. It is an internal posture, not cold detachment, not emotional distance, but warm presence without grip. It is saying, I care, I cherish, but I do not cling. You walk with someone for a season. You give your best to a moment. And when it ends, you let it go, not because it didn't matter, but because it did. This practice begins inside you. Start with your breath. Try holding it. You'll feel tension, panic, tightness. Now release it. Breathe again. That is the natural rhythm of life. Taking in, letting go. Not once, but continuously. When you fight this rhythm, you suffer. When you flow with it, you are free. Then try it with your emotions. When joy comes, savor it without needing it to last forever. When sorrow comes, feel it without needing it to disappear instantly. You begin to learn that everything comes and goes, and that your peace does not depend on what stays or leaves, it depends on your relationship to what is. You can even practice this with your identity. You are not the same person you were 10 years ago. You won't be the same in 10 more. And that's not a crisis, it's a gift. It means you are alive. It means life is still unfolding through you. You can honor your past without clinging to it. You can grieve the loss of your former self while stepping into a new self with reverence. In relationships, this wisdom becomes essential. Love is not proven through possession, it is proven through presence. To love someone while allowing them to be free is the highest expression of care. Not to grip them out of fear, but to walk beside them out of choice. To allow them to grow even if it means they grow in a different direction. This is not detachment, it is unconditional love, and it requires a strength far greater than control. Clinging is built on fear. Non-clinging is built on trust. It says, even if this changes, I will be okay. Even if it ends, it was beautiful. Even if I am left with nothing, I will still be whole. You don't arrive at this trust overnight. It takes practice, patience, forgiveness. But every time you let go of what you cannot control, you return a piece of yourself to peace. And yes, sometimes the release will hurt. Sometimes letting go will feel like tearing apart your own soul. But in time, you begin to see that every ending carved space for something more honest. That every release softened your grip on illusion. That every time you let go, you grew wings in place of chains. So if you find yourself clinging to a memory, a person, a version of yourself, a dream that hasn't come true, pause, breathe. Ask yourself gently, what am I afraid will happen if I let this go? Often, beneath the clinging is a fear of being nothing, of being alone, of losing meaning. But the truth is, you are never nothing. You are never alone. You are meaning itself. What is meant for you will not require force. What is true will remain, even when your hands are open. Learn to hold lightly, love deeply, release freely. This is the art of the awakened heart. This is the balance of tenderness and strength. This is the way of peace. Peace isn't found, it's remembered. Many of us spend our lives chasing peace. We think it lies in the future, just past the next goal, just beyond the next struggle, just on the other side of healing. We search for it in success, in relationships, in spiritual breakthroughs, in retreats, in teachings. We look for it in new beginnings, in distant places, in profound revelations. And yet, even when we reach those milestones, peace often remains elusive, fleeting, momentary, easily disturbed. Why? Because the greatest misunderstanding is this: peace is not something to find. It is something you remember. In Buddhism, peace is not something you acquire from outside yourself. It is not something a guru can give you or a book can install in your heart like software. Peace is not a reward you receive once you have earned enlightenment. Peace is your natural state. It has always been with you, quiet, still, waiting beneath the noise, not absent, just forgotten. From the moment you were born, you knew peace. You didn't need to explain yourself. You didn't need to prove anything. You didn't feel behind. You didn't compare. You breathed, and that was enough. You existed, and that was holy. But over time, as life grew more complicated, as the world taught you fear, expectation, shame, and pressure, you began to drift. And as you drifted, you forgot. You didn't lose peace. You lost your connection to it. It became buried beneath years of striving, covered in layers of guilt, muted by the constant hum of thoughts and anxiety. It wasn't gone. It was simply waiting, like the moon behind clouds, like the sky behind the storm, like the ocean beneath the waves. And here is the most powerful truth. You don't have to go anywhere to return to it. You don't have to fix yourself, or become wiser, or have all the answers. You don't have to escape your life or silence all your pain. You simply have to remember, to pause, to turn inward, to sit in stillness long enough to feel the quiet underneath your thoughts. Peace is not found in perfect circumstances. It is remembered in imperfect moments when you stop grasping, stop running, stop needing things to be different. It arises when you surrender not in defeat, but in presence. It comes when you say, "This moment, just as it is enough for now." In the Buddhist tradition, monks are not trained to eliminate their thoughts or feelings. They are trained to observe them gently, with compassion. They sit in stillness, not to escape life, but to touch it more deeply. And in that stillness, they don't find peace as a prize, they remember it as a presence, a familiar home, a quiet friend who was never far away. So how do you remember peace? You begin by slowing down, even just a little. You don't need an hour of meditation. You don't need a silent monastery. You need a single breath. A single sacred pause between doing and being. A single moment where you close your eyes, feel the ground beneath you, and ask, what if nothing is missing right now? At first, the noise will be loud. Your mind will resist. It will pull you back into problems, tasks, fears. That's okay. Don't fight it. Just notice it. And breathe again. With each breath, you begin to sink not into numbness, but into clarity. You begin to realize that beneath every storm, there is stillness. Beneath every emotion, there is space. Beneath every demand, there is silence. Peace is not the absence of pain. It is the presence of you in the midst of it. It is the awareness that holds all your experiences without being swept away by them. It is the quiet center that watches joy come and go, grief rise and fall, hope return, and fade and remains untouched. This center is not distant. It is not a special skill. It is your very nature. But modern life trains us to forget. We are told we must earn rest, that we must be fixed before we can be at peace, that we must be constantly doing, improving, achieving. We are surrounded by noise external and internal, and we begin to believe that silence is emptiness, that stillness is stagnation. But this is the lie that keeps us exhausted. True peace is not about escaping life. It is about being so fully present with it that nothing needs to change for you to feel whole. You can sit with grief and still remember peace. You can feel confusion and still remember peace. You can be in pain and still remember peace. Because peace is not a mood, it is not an outcome, it is a grounded relationship with what is. To cultivate this remembrance, you must practice, gently, with care, each day. Create small rituals that bring you home. It might be the way you sip your tea in silence, the way you breathe before opening your phone, the way you touch your heart when anxiety rises, the way you notice the warmth of sunlight through a window. These are not distractions, these are doorways. And in time, you begin to recognize peace not as something distant, but as a constant presence beneath everything. You begin to understand that even when you forget it, it never forgets you. Even when you wander, it waits. Even when you doubt yourself, it remains. It is not earned. It is not lost. It is simply remembered each time you come home to yourself. And yes, some days will feel loud. Some seasons will feel impossible. There will be times when your body is tense, your mind is racing, your heart is heavy. On those days, do not punish yourself for forgetting peace. That is just part of the rhythm. The forgetting is human. The returning is sacred. Return without judgment. Return without force. Return with gentleness. Each time you remember that nothing needs to be perfect. Each time you let go of needing to control. Each time you choose presence over performance. Peace stirs, it rises, it holds you. And one day, you'll look around in the middle of ordinary life, maybe while folding laundry or sitting in traffic or drinking water, and you'll feel it. The stillness, the clarity, the warmth. You'll feel peace not as an achievement, but as your natural state. And you'll realize that the path was never about getting somewhere else. It was about removing what stood in the way of what was always here. Peace isn't something you find at the end of the road. It's something you remember along the way. It's not the final chapter of your healing, it's the ground beneath every page. It's not a reward, it's a return. To breath, to being, to truth. So wherever you are right now, whether lost or tired or searching, pause. Close your eyes. Inhale softly, exhale fully, and say quietly to yourself, I don't have to find peace. I only have to remember it was always mine. And in that remembering, you are home. Every ending is a sacred doorway. Endings carry a quiet ache, a special kind of heaviness that settles in your bones, rests in your chest, and whispers gently but persistently, something has been lost. They arrive in countless forms. The end of a relationship, the death of a loved one, the loss of a dream, the fading of a season. Sometimes endings are dramatic and loud, like storms tearing through your life. Sometimes they're subtle, quiet, almost unnoticed, until one day you realize things are no longer the same. But no matter how they arrive, endings always feel tender, fragile, raw, and because of this fragility, our first instinct is often to resist, to deny, to cling, to fight, to beg life to rewind, to go back, to undo whatever was lost. Because behind every ending is grief, the deep, tender sorrow of having loved something and now facing its absence. Yet, within Buddhism there lies a gentle, powerful teaching gun that can transform the way we move through life's transitions. Every ending is a sacred doorway, a threshold between who you were and who you are becoming, a bridge that connects past wisdom with future possibility. It is not just a loss, it's an opening. This understanding does not diminish your pain. It doesn't erase your sadness or gloss over your grief. Buddhism never asks you to numb or avoid what you're feeling. Instead, it invites you to hold your sorrow differently, with curiosity, with reverence, with compassion. It invites you to step closer to the ache and to notice something remarkable hidden within it. The truth is, endings reveal more than they remove. They peel back layers of illusion, forcing us to face truths we might otherwise ignore. They show us what matters, what remains, and what endures long after the storm. They strip away everything unnecessary, leaving only what's real behind. And in doing so, they bring you back to yourself. Every ending, no matter how painful, creates sacred space. Space that was once filled with something familiar, a person, a dream, a sense of security, and now stands empty, quiet, open. At first, that emptiness can feel overwhelming. The mind rushes to fill it. The heart aches for comfort. But Buddhism gently teaches us to sit with that emptiness, to breathe into it, and to let it become fertile ground for growth. Because that empty space isn't nothingness, it's possibility. It's room for something new to emerge, something you might never have discovered had the ending not arrived. Within the quiet openness of endings, we often find clarity, strength, or compassion we didn't know we possessed. In the Buddhist teachings, impermanence, anicca, isn't something tragic, it's something sacred. It reminds us that life is precious precisely because it is fleeting. It teaches us that our attachments are what cause suffering, not the loss itself. By understanding that all things are impermanent, we begin to cherish each moment deeply, to love fully, and to hold everything lightly. And when an ending inevitably arrives, we feel grief, but we also feel gratitude for having experienced something worth missing. When you begin to view every ending as a doorway, something profound shifts within you. You stop resisting what life is teaching. You stop seeing yourself as broken by loss and start seeing yourself as shaped by it. You begin to trust even in darkness that you are being guided toward deeper truths. You begin to see loss not as punishment, but as preparation. Not as abandonment, but as an invitation to become more real. Think about your life's greatest endings, the heartbreaks, the failures, the goodbyes you never wanted. At the time, they felt catastrophic. Yet, looking back, they also transformed you. They led you to new friendships, new loves, deeper self-awareness, greater empathy. They forced you to shed an identity that no longer fit. They broke your heart open and, in doing so, allowed more love, more courage, more authenticity to flow in. Even the most painful losses eventually become teachers. They instruct us not through ease, but through struggle. They deepen us not through comfort, but through challenge. And though it might not feel this way at first, every ending becomes a gift not because you wanted it, but because of how it changed you. In meditation, we learn to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment. The same wisdom applies to endings. To witness the departure of what we love without becoming lost in it requires immense courage. It requires presence. It requires trust. It requires letting go not because you don't care, but precisely because you do. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means honoring. It means loving fully, yet releasing freely. It means acknowledging that love isn't proven by permanence, but by presence. You loved something enough to feel its absence deeply. That's sacred. That's beautiful. Buddhist masters teach that every ending is also a birth. That what we call death is always connected to what we call life. They are not separate. They are part of the same cycle. Just as the sunset brings the sunrise and autumn leads into spring, the ending of one thing becomes the beginning of another. If you are facing an ending now, give yourself permission to grieve fully, cry, mourn, feel it. But then gently remind yourself, you are standing at a threshold. You are not lost, you're at a doorway. You are not empty, you're open. You are not defeated, you're becoming. And then, slowly, day by day, allow yourself to move forward, not by forcing closure, but by embracing openness. Lean into the uncertainty. Lean into the unknown. Let yourself be surprised by what arises in the space that loss created. You don't need all the answers yet. You just need willingness to step through the doorway. Life will keep changing. You will experience more endings, but each time you do, you will carry this wisdom with you. You will remember that endings aren't punishments, they're portals. You will remember that nothing is truly lost, it's simply transformed. You will remember that your heart is resilient enough to break open again and again and still hold joy. So honor your endings, not with bitterness, but with reverence. Bow to them, for they have made you softer, deeper, wiser. Let them teach you how to love fiercely without clinging, how to grieve without despair, how to move forward without forgetting. This is the sacred cycle of your life. It is not linear, it's spiral. You will revisit loss. You will meet endings again, but each time you will do so from greater depth, greater strength, greater trust. And each time you will see even more clearly that your story is not defined by what you lose, but by what you discover through loss. Endings are not failures. They are invitations to begin again, to become again, to awaken again. They are reminders that life is precious, fleeting, and beautifully uncertain. They are proof that your heart can stretch wide enough to hold both grief and gratitude, sorrow and wonder, endings and beginnings. So wherever you are today, in grief or gratitude, in sorrow or joy, in loss or renewal, take a slow, deep breath. Touch your chest gently and whisper to yourself, "This ending is not the end of me. It is the opening of a door I cannot yet see, but one I trust will lead me home." And when you're ready, step forward into the doorway, trusting that every ending will meet you with the exact beginning you need. You were always whole, even in your brokenness. There is a subtle yet pervasive belief woven deeply into the fabric of human consciousness. The idea that when life breaks us open, when we find ourselves fragmented by loss, disappointment, trauma, or pain, we become fundamentally incomplete. That somehow, beneath the shattered pieces of our hearts, our confidence, and our dreams, there lies something permanently damaged, something forever lacking, something that now needs fixing before we can become worthy, lovable, or whole again. This belief, though, understandably is an illusion. Buddhist teachings whisper a profoundly different truth, quietly but steadily, beneath the noise of our self-criticism. You were never incomplete. You were always whole. Even in your brokenness, even amidst your deepest pain, your fundamental essence remained untouched, unblemished, unbreakable, and eternally complete. To understand this fully, it's important first to understand what we mean by brokenness. It is not merely sadness or grief. It is not simply the presence of pain or difficulty. Brokenness arises from the story we tell ourselves about our pain, that it makes us lesser, that it permanently diminishes our value, our worthiness, our wholeness. And it is this story, not the pain itself, that creates suffering. In Buddhist thought, suffering, dukkha, is born not from circumstances, but from our resistance to them. When pain arises, we tend to respond by closing our hearts, tightening our bodies, and clinging desperately to the idea of who we used to be before the pain arrived. We say, "I cannot accept this. I will not be whole again until it is gone." Yet in doing so, we create our own prison, because pain itself does not fragment, usually resistance does. Buddhism teaches us to hold pain differently, not as proof of brokenness, but as an invitation to deeper wholeness. It gently invites us to shift our focus from fixing ourselves to meeting ourselves exactly as we are, with compassion, curiosity, and kindness. This compassionate meeting begins with understanding one simple yet radical truth. You are not your pain, you are not your wounds, you are not your mistakes, your past, or your fears. Beneath all of these, beneath even your greatest cirrhosis, an awareness that remains eternally whole, a silent, spacious presence that observes everything without judgment. This presence has always been within you. It has never left, never abandoned you, never been damaged. It is who you truly are. When you begin to identify not with the temporary emotions or circumstances of your life, but with this deeper presence, something remarkable happens. You recognize that nothing external can threaten your inherent wholeness. Yes, life can and will hurt you. Yes, you will experience loss, grief, confusion, and uncertainty. But none of these can change who you fundamentally are beneath it all. You are consciousness itself, unlimited, boundless, eternally complete. Think of the sky for a moment. It can hold storms, lightning, rain, clouds, but none of these storms define or diminish the sky itself. The sky simply holds them. It watches as storms arise, as they linger, and as they eventually pass away. And beneath even the fiercest storm, the sky remains untouched, expansive, calm, and whole. You, too, are the sky. Your thoughts, emotions, and experiences, they are passing storms. They can be fierce and painful. They can bring lightning and thunder, grief and sorrow. But beneath all of this, turbulence is your true self, spacious, open, unbroken. The storm does not diminish the sky. Your pain does not diminish your true nature. This is the great awakening, recognizing that you were always whole, even when everything felt shattered. But how do you access this wholeness in daily life, especially amidst deep emotional pain? The key lies in acceptance, resignation or passivity, but compassionate presence. You do not need to pretend pain isn't real. You don't have to deny your wounds or force yourself to feel differently. True acceptance means holding your brokenness gently, exactly as it is, without rushing to fix it. It means whispering to yourself, "Yes, this hurts deeply, but even here, I am still whole. Even now, I am still enough." This is the practice of compassion that Buddhism teaches, not a vague sentimentality, but active, courageous love. When pain arises, meet it with tenderness. Hold it as you would hold a crying child, gently and patiently, not trying to silence or fix, but simply saying, "I'm here, I see you. You're not alone. Your brokenness is not an enemy. It's a call for compassion." When you offer it compassion, the illusion of brokenness slowly dissolves. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It is not linear or easy. But slowly, moment by moment, breath by breath, you begin to notice something extraordinary. Your brokenness does not destroy you, it deepens you. It carves away everything superficial, everything false, everything that doesn't serve your truest self. Like a sculptor chipping away stone to reveal beauty beneath, your pain is reshaping you, not into something new, but into who you always were beneath your fears. Your wounds become portals, your grief becomes sacred soil, your tears become holy water. And as you walk gently through your pain, offering yourself presence instead of criticism, love instead of judgment, you begin to experience wholeness not as a distant goal, but as your immediate reality. This realization is revolutionary. It changes everything. You no longer chase healing as a future state to achieve. You discover healing as the act of compassionately embracing the present. You no longer seek peace outside yourself. You remember peace as the presence beneath every storm. You no longer measure your worth by how unbroken you appear. You know your worth as something infinitely deeper, infinitely more resilient. In this awareness, your brokenness ceases to be a limitation. It becomes a source of strength. Because having touched your pain fully, having sat in darkness without abandoning yourself, you now carry a compassion and wisdom that no one can take from you. You become a healer not by fixing others, but by showing them their own unbrokenness beneath their pain. Every great spiritual master has walked through darkness. The Buddha himself faced profound loss, grief, and confusion before awakening. Your pain does not separate you from awakening, it prepares you for it. It softens your heart, expands your awareness, and leads you home to your true nature. So, wherever you find yourself right now, in sorrow, confusion, brokenness, pause. Close your eyes, breathe gently, place your hand over your heart and whisper, "Even here, in this pain, I am still whole. Even now, with this ache, I am still worthy. Even broken open, I am still complete." Repeat this truth gently, again and again, until it becomes not just words, but knowing. Let it guide you, soften you, free you. You were always whole. You were never broken. Beneath everything you've experienced, beneath every scar and sorrow, your essence has remained untouched, eternal, and infinitely beautiful. And now, having walked through pain, you can see this truth more clearly than ever before. Welcome home to your unbreakable heart, your unshakable spirit, your limitless being. You were always here. You were always enough. You were always whole. Your life is a sacred journey, not a race. In a world obsessed with speed, achievement, and constant forward momentum, it's easy to believe that life itself is a race. We are taught early on to measure our worth by how fast we can reach milestones, by how quickly we recover from setbacks, by how well we compare to those around us. We rush forward, chasing goals, collecting achievements, always feeling like we're one step behind, always fearing we'll run out of time. Life becomes exhausting not because we're living it fully, but because we're sprinting through it without ever truly experiencing it. But Buddhism gently whispers a truth that runs counter to this frantic pace, truth, both revolutionary and profoundly comforting. Your life is not a race, it is a sacred journey. This simple yet powerful shift in understanding can change everything. Because if life is a journey, not a competition, not a performance, not something to rush through, then the pressure to hurry dissolves. You can finally slow down, breathe deeply, and live with presence rather than urgency. You can begin to walk gently, without comparing yourself to anyone else's pace, without needing to be anywhere other than exactly where you are. Think for a moment about the difference between a journey and a race. A race implies competition, urgency, comparison. There is a finish line you must cross first, a prize to win, something to prove. A journey, however, has no winners or losers. It has no timeline imposed from outside. It unfolds naturally, beautifully, moment by moment, step by step. A journey is something you experience, not something you complete. It's something you savor, not something you rush through. Your life is this kind of journey. It is not meant to be completed as fast as possible. It is meant to be experienced fully, richly, slowly, every moment filled with depth and awareness. It is not meant to be perfect. It is meant to be real. It is not meant to avoid pain. It is meant to teach you how to embrace pain, integrate it, and transform it into wisdom. When you begin to see life as a journey rather than a race, something remarkable happens within you. Your shoulders soften, your breath deepens. You no longer measure yourself by external standards. You stop comparing your path to others. Instead, you begin to ask yourself gently, am I fully here in this moment? Am I present for my life, not just rushing through it? This presence is at the heart of Buddhist teaching. In meditation, you learn to simply sit, to breathe, to observe thoughts as they arise, and fall away without urgency, without judgment, without forcing anything. Over time, this practice of presence carries into your daily life. You begin to savor small moments, the way sunlight touches leaves, the warmth of tea in your hands, the gentle rhythm of your breathing. You start to realize that life's greatest beauty isn't found in big accomplishments, but in simple moments of awareness. A sacred journey means every experience has value, not just the good ones, but the painful ones too. Your heartbreak, your failures, your struggles, they aren't interruptions or detours. They are vital parts of the path. They deepen you, teach you compassion, and reveal truths you could never learn from constant ease or success. Buddhist teachings remind us that suffering arises from resisting life's natural flow. When we try to force our life into a rigid timeline, when we insist that healing must happen faster, that success must come sooner, we suffer, because life refuses to be rushed. It follows its own wisdom, unfolding in its own perfect timing, even if that timing feels unbearably slow or confusing to us. To honor life as a journey means trusting this timing, even when it doesn't make sense. It means allowing yourself periods of rest, uncertainty, and quiet, not as wasted time, but as essential nourishment for your soul. It means understanding that delays are not failures, pauses are not setbacks, and confusion is not a mistake. Each moment is teaching you something. Each step, no matter how small, is moving you forward, even if you can't yet see where it leads. In many Buddhist monasteries, monks walk slowly, mindfully, taking each step with full presence. They aren't rushing to finish, they are experiencing the journey itself as a sacred practice. Your own life can become this kind of practice. You can learn to move through your days gently, with care, noticing small details, feeling gratitude for ordinary moments. You can release urgency and instead embrace curiosity, patience, and trust. When you begin to live life as a journey rather than a race, comparison falls away. You stop looking at others' paths, wondering if you're behind. Because you realize each path is unique, each soul walking at its own perfect pace, learning exactly what it needs in its own time. You honor your own rhythm, your own timing, your own lessons, without measuring yourself against others. You also stop punishing yourself for perceived delays or setbacks. You see clearly that nothing has been wasted. Even periods of sadness, confusion, and grief have their purpose. They slow you down, encourage you to turn inward, to reflect, to heal. They deepen your empathy, making you wiser, softer, more compassionate. Your entire path including pain, sacred ground. A journey mindset allows you to experience each moment as enough, exactly as it is. You no longer postpone happiness or peace until some future achievement. You understand that joy doesn't live at the finish line, it lives here, now, in your breath, in your heartbeat, in your presence. You stop chasing peace as a distant prize and instead recognize it as your true nature, accessible in every moment you choose presence over urgency. Buddhist wisdom reminds you again and again, this moment is your life, not tomorrow, not someday, not when you're healed enough or good enough. Now, this breath, this heartbeat, this exact instant is sacred, full of infinite potential, full of quiet joy, full of presence. The greatest gift of shifting from a race mentality to a journey mentality is the realization that you don't need to earn peace. You don't have to arrive somewhere else to be worthy or whole. You are already here. You have already arrived. You are already enough. Life becomes lighter, softer, more beautiful, not because it's easy, but because you finally understand that every moment, no matter how simple or difficult, is profoundly precious. If you feel exhausted from running, if your heart is weary from chasing goals that always seem out of reach, pause, breathe, feel your feet planted gently on the earth. Close your eyes and whisper softly to your tired heart. I am allowed to slow down. My life is not a race. My worth does not depend on my speed. My healing does not depend on my timeline. I am allowed to rest, to breathe, to savor this moment exactly as it is. You don't have to prove your value by how quickly you move through life. You don't have to earn your place through constant achievement. You are inherently worthy simply because you exist. Your life is already sacred, already beautiful, already enough exactly as it unfolds. Let this understanding fill your heart, calm your mind, and guide your footsteps from this moment forward. Walk your path gently, patiently, mindfully, and know deeply that wherever you are, however fast or slow you move, your journey is sacred, meaningful, and exactly as it needs to be. Welcome to your sacred journey. Your heart knows the way home. There comes a point in every spiritual journey after the confusion, after the heartbreak, after you've tried every path and read every teaching, when you find yourself standing quietly at a crossroads. All the maps have faded, all the voices have softened, and for perhaps the first time, you realize clearly that no one else can guide you home. You've reached the end of what external knowledge can offer. You've arrived at the threshold where intellect falls silent, where strategies fall short, where even your deepest wisdom feels incomplete. At this sacred moment, Buddhism gently whispers the simplest yet most profound truth of all. Your heart already knows the way home. Your heart, not your intellect, not your ego, not the part of you that seeks control or security, but your heart, the quiet, still center within you that holds compassion, intuition, and deep inner knowing. The place within you that has always existed, beneath every layer of conditioning, beyond every external measure of worth, separate from every goal, desire, or fear. This heart, This sacred, gentle, wise heart holds the wisdom you've spent your whole life searching for outside yourself. Yet trusting your heart can feel terrifying. It requires immense vulnerability and courage, because your heart doesn't communicate through words or logic or neatly outlined plans. It whispers softly, in feelings, in intuition, in subtle nudges. It speaks quietly, often beneath layers of fear and doubt, patiently waiting until you're ready to listen. And it is precisely because of this subtlety that we often overlook our heart's wisdom. We live in a world that privileges the loud, the certain, the clearly defined. We trust intellect over intuition, logic over feeling, outer authority over inner knowing. And as a result, we find ourselves lost, disconnected, always searching but never quite finding the peace we long for. But Buddhism gently encourages us to pause, turn inward, and reconnect with the quiet wisdom of the heart. The heart doesn't demand your attention. It waits patiently. Beneath the noise of your mind, beneath your busyness, beneath your striving. It knows that eventually, when all else fails, you'll remember to turn inward and listen. What does it mean to trust your heart? It means to live gently, intuitively, guided not by external pressures or expectations, but by what genuinely feels true within you. It means honoring your feelings, not as obstacles, but as messengers. It means acknowledging your grief, your confusion, your joy, your love, not as passing emotions to be ignored, but as sacred signals guiding you toward greater truth. Your heart knows what the mind cannot grasp. It senses connections your logic cannot understand. It guides you not through clear, linear instructions, but through subtle feelings of resonance or discomfort, expansion or contraction. It nudges you toward kindness, toward honesty, toward authenticity, even when those paths feel uncertain or frightening. And yet, the heart's guidance isn't always easy or comfortable. Often, it leads you directly into places you've been avoiding, wounds you haven't healed, fears you haven't faced, truths you've been resisting. Your heart understands that true healing requires honesty and courage. It gently encourages you to face the things you've buried, not as punishment, but as liberation. The heart knows that freedom comes not from avoiding pain, but from walking directly through it with compassion and presence. It knows that real peace isn't the absence of suffering, but the presence of authenticity. It understands that wholeness is not something you earn by doing everything perfectly. It's something you remember by honoring everything fully. This path isn't linear or predictable. Your heart will lead you down winding roads, through shadowed valleys, across vast deserts. It will ask you to trust even when you can't see clearly, to surrender even when you want control, to keep walking even when you're tired. Yet each step taken with your heart's guidance deepens your courage, expands your compassion, and reveals more clearly who you truly are beneath fear or illusion. How do you begin listening to your heart? Start gently. Begin by creating quiet moments in your day, moments without distraction or busyness, where you simply breathe, soften, and notice what arises within you. Pay attention to subtle feelings of warmth or unease, excitement or hesitation. Don't rush to label or analyze them. Just observe. Trust that each feeling carries a message your mind might not yet understand. Slowly, you'll notice patterns. Certain situations or relationships might consistently bring feelings of expansion or contraction. Certain choices might feel aligned or misaligned, even if logically they seem unclear. These subtle cues are your heart speaking. The more you listen, the clearer its voice becomes. Meditation deepens this connection profoundly. Buddhist practices of mindfulness and compassion aren't just relaxation techniques. They are tools for accessing your heart's wisdom directly. In meditation, you quiet your mind's noise, drop beneath surface thoughts, and reconnect with your deepest inner knowing. Here, beneath all distraction, your heart's wisdom waits patiently. It doesn't shout or demand. It whispers quietly, guiding you toward truth. But even meditation isn't about achieving some state of perfect clarity. It's simply about learning to listen deeply. It's about practicing trust. It's about remembering that you carry all the wisdom you've ever needed within you already. You don't need another teacher, another book, another answer from outside yourself. You need only turn inward, quiet your mind, and gently ask your heart, what do I truly need in this moment? What is true for me now? Trusting your heart also means forgiving yourself for times you didn't listen, for moments you chose fear over love, logic over intuition. Your heart understands that forgetting is human. It waits patiently, without judgment, ready to guide you again when you're ready to return. Your heart doesn't punish, it heals. It doesn't judge, it welcomes. And each time you return, you build greater trust in your own inner wisdom. This gentle, intuitive living transforms your life. Decisions become clearer, even amidst uncertainty, because you trust your inner compass. Relationships become deeper, because you communicate from authenticity rather than fear. Your days become simpler, because you no longer chase external validation or approval. Instead, you live from quiet inner alignment, anchored in the calm, gentle wisdom of your heart. Ultimately, your heart's wisdom leads you home, not to a physical place, but to a state of being. Home is where you're authentic. Home is where you're honest. Home is where you're gentle with yourself and others. Home is presence, compassion, and truth. Your heart knows exactly how to guide you there, step by gentle step, if you're willing to listen. The journey home isn't quick or easy. You'll face doubts, fears, moments when the heart's whispers feel too subtle or unclear. But each moment of listening strengthens your trust. Each act of honoring your intuition deepens your wisdom. Gradually, you realize clearly that the heart was always guiding you, even when you couldn't see it. So wherever you are today, whether you feel lost, confused, weary, or hopeful, pause for a moment. Close your eyes softly. Take a deep, gentle breath. Place your hand on your heart and whisper quietly to yourself, "My heart knows the way home. I trust its quiet wisdom. I honor its subtle guidance. Even in uncertainty, I am safe, because my heart is always guiding me toward truth." Let this truth fill you with warmth, courage, and gentle peace. Know deeply that wherever you go, however far you wander, however lost you feel, your heart will always guide you home. You already carry all the wisdom you've been searching for. You already hold the answers you've been seeking. The way home isn't outside you, it's within you. Trust your heart. Listen to its whispers. Follow its gentle guidance. It will never lead you astray. It will only lead you deeper into truth, compassion, and authentic peace. You are exactly where you need to be. There is a subtle restlessness embedded within the human spirit, a persistent feeling that we are always supposed to be somewhere else, doing something more, achieving something greater, feeling something different. We glance around, comparing our journeys to others, believing they've somehow gotten ahead. We look back with regret at past choices, wishing we'd done things differently. We look forward anxiously, believing peace and happiness await us only in the future, in some distant place or time when everything finally falls into place. Yet Buddhism gently whispers to our anxious hearts a truth so simple yet profoundly revolutionary. You are exactly where you need to be. Pause for a moment and let this sink into your bones. Not intellectually, not superficially, but deeply. Right now, exactly as you are, with your confusion, your imperfections, your struggles, your joys, your doubts, you are precisely where life intended you to be at this moment. Your journey, with all its unexpected twists, losses, detours, and mysteries, has guided you perfectly to this place of uncertainty, vulnerability, openness, and possibility. To understand this truth fully requires releasing the illusion that your life was ever supposed to follow a straight line or a predictable map. Life isn't a linear story with neatly defined chapters, carefully planned steps, and predictable endings. Life is a sacred dance, spiraling, flowing, turning unexpectedly, carrying you through darkness and light, joy and grief, confusion and clarity. And every single step of this dance, no matter how uncertain or unplanned, is sacred. Every step has brought you here, to this very moment. Yet it's easy, especially in moments of pain or confusion, to believe you've gone off course. To believe your struggles are proof of mistakes, failures, or flaws. But Buddhism quietly teaches that there are no mistakes in your path, only opportunities for deepening wisdom, expanding compassion, and learning to trust life's inherent intelligence. Every struggle, every moment of confusion or heartache, every period of uncertainty is guiding you exactly where you need to be. Think about the most meaningful moments in your life, the ones that profoundly shaped your character, your wisdom, your compassion. Often, these moments were not the easy ones. They were times of loss, grief, heartbreak, confusion, moments you initially wished you could avoid. Yet looking back, you can see clearly how these challenging experiences brought you exactly where you needed to be. They opened your heart, deepened your awareness, connected you more fully to yourself and to others. Trusting that you are exactly where you need to be requires profound surrender, a willingness to release your grip on the illusion of control. Life rarely unfolds according to your expectations or plans. Yet, if you pause to reflect, you'll notice that life has always provided exactly what you needed, precisely when you needed it, even if it wasn't what you wanted or expected. The very situations you resisted most fiercely often carried the deepest blessings, the greatest insights, the clearest guidance. Buddhist teachings remind us repeatedly that suffering arises when we resist life, as it is when we insist that something about our current experience should be different. Acceptance isn't passive resignation. It's courageous surrender. It's the profound trust that even in your darkest moments, life is still guiding you gently toward healing, awakening, and growth. Acceptance says softly to your restless heart, "This moment is enough, exactly as it is. I trust it, I honor it, I am fully present within it." This acceptance transforms your relationship to uncertainty. Instead of fearing the unknown, you begin to embrace it with curiosity and openness. You understand that uncertainty isn't an obstacle, it's a doorway. It leads you into new possibilities, deeper truths, and greater authenticity. You stop seeing uncertainty as proof that something has gone wrong. You start seeing it as proof that life is continually inviting you into growth. Meditation and mindfulness practices deepen this trust profoundly. In meditation, you learn to sit quietly, observing your breath, your thoughts, your emotions exactly as they are. You don't resist, judge, or attempt to change anything. You simply witness. You realize that each moment, no matter how imperfect or uncomfortable, holds wisdom. Each breath is sacred. Each feeling is valid. Each thought is part of your path. Gradually, this practice extends beyond meditation into your daily life. You begin to meet every experience with greater presence, less judgment, and deeper trust. You stop rushing through life, believing happiness awaits you somewhere else. You stop postponing peace until conditions are perfect. You realize peace is found precisely here, in this moment exactly as it unfolds. When you begin trusting deeply that you're exactly where you need to be, your life becomes simpler. You no longer waste energy regretting the past or anxiously anticipating the future. You live gently and fully, moment by moment, guided by the quiet, intuitive knowing that life itself is your wisest teacher. You recognize clearly that each experience, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, holds profound purpose. This trust frees you from comparison. You no longer measure your journey against anyone else's. You realize every path is unique, unfolding perfectly according to its own inner wisdom. You honor your own timing, your own rhythms, your own lessons, knowing deeply that your life's journey is perfectly designed for your highest growth. Yet trusting deeply that you're exactly where you need to be doesn't mean everything always feels easy or clear. There will still be moments of doubt, confusion, grief, and uncertainty. But now, even these difficult moments feel meaningful. They no longer threaten your trust. You embrace them gently, knowing they're guiding you deeper, expanding your awareness, and softening your heart. In Buddhist teachings, the lotus flower symbolizes awakening precisely because it grows beautifully from muddy waters. Your own life is similar. Your deepest growth often emerges not from easy conditions, but from confusion, uncertainty, and struggle. You are the lotus growing gracefully from even the darkest, muddiest waters of your experience. This profound understanding brings immense peace. You stop chasing the illusion of perfection. You release expectations of linear progress or constant clarity. You embrace each moment, each feeling, each experience with gratitude, curiosity, and reverence. You trust fully that your life is perfectly unfolding, guiding you exactly where you need to be. So, wherever you find yourself today, whether you feel lost, joyful, grieving, hopeful, confused, or certain, pause. Breathe deeply. Touch your heart gently and whisper softly to yourself, I am exactly where I need to be. This moment exactly, as it is guiding me perfectly. I trust my journey fully. Repeat these words gently, letting them sink deeply into your being. Allow this trust to soften your heart, quiet your mind, and fill you with profound peace. Know deeply that wherever you are, however uncertain or unclear, your path is perfectly unfolding exactly as it must. Life never wastes a single experience. Every step, every feeling, every challenge carries meaning. You don't have to understand it all immediately. You simply have to trust. Trust your timing. Trust your uncertainty. Trust your confusion. Trust your pain. Trust your joy. Trust your heart. You are guided. You are safe. You are exactly where you need to be. And one day, you'll look back at your journey, at all its unexpected turns, detours, losses, and joys, and you'll see clearly how each moment guided you exactly where you needed to be. Until then, trust. Trust your path. Trust your timing. Trust your journey. You are exactly where you need to be. And this moment, exactly as it is beautifully, sacredly enough. Let life unfold naturally, without force. We live in a world that praises effort, achievement, ambition, and constant striving. From our earliest days, we learn that life must be controlled, shaped, and mastered. We learn to push through obstacles, to force outcomes, to impose our desires onto reality, as though life itself were an unruly force requiring our constant vigilance and control. But beneath this, beneath all our forcing, striving, and pushing lies an ancient truth, quietly whispered through the teachings of Buddhism. Life does not need your force, it only needs your presence. Life is not something you must control, it's something you're invited to experience. Life isn't an enemy to be conquered, it's a sacred journey to be trusted. It isn't chaos to tame, it's wisdom to listen to. To let life unfold naturally means surrendering the belief that happiness depends on controlling outcomes, circumstances, or people. It means trusting life's innate wisdom and intelligence, even when that wisdom is hidden beneath uncertainty or difficulty. It means releasing your tight grip on how you think life should look, and instead opening your heart to embrace exactly how it does look right now. This teaching can feel deeply counterintuitive, especially in moments of stress or uncertainty. Our first instinct when faced with difficulty is often to push harder, to resist more fiercely, to fight against life's current. We tighten our grip, double down on our plans, and exhaust ourselves trying to force life to match our desires. But Buddhism gently reminds us, resistance creates suffering. The more you fight against life's flow, the more tension, anxiety, and unhappiness you create within yourself. Imagine a river. The river moves gracefully, effortlessly toward the sea. It doesn't fight its course. It doesn't try to flow faster or slower. It adapts gently, softly, flowing around rocks and obstacles without effort. Yet its gentle persistence carves canyons, shapes landscapes, creates beauty. The river trusts fully its own natural rhythm. It knows no force is necessary, only presence and trust. Your life, too, moves with this gentle wisdom, if you allow it. You don't have to push or strain. You don't need constant force to shape your path. You only need presence, patience, and trust in life's own unfolding. Life knows exactly where it's guiding you, even when you don't yet see clearly. Of course, this doesn't mean passivity or inaction. It doesn't mean resigning yourself helplessly to whatever happens. It means acting from clarity rather than desperation, responding from trust rather than fear, engaging with life as it naturally unfolds rather than trying to impose your will upon it. In Buddhist meditation, this principle becomes beautifully clear. When you meditate, you don't force your mind into stillness. You simply observe it, letting thoughts and emotions arise and pass naturally. The harder you try to silence your mind through force, the more chaotic it becomes. Yet the moment you stop pushing, stop resisting, stop trying to control your mind, naturally settles, quiets, and finds peace. You realize clearly, stillness emerges not through force, but through gentle surrender. Your daily life can become an extension of this meditation. Instead of forcing outcomes, you begin listening carefully to life's subtle messages. You allow situations to unfold naturally, responding intuitively rather than pushing aggressively. You stop demanding immediate clarity or control, and instead trust life's timing and wisdom, even when it's uncertain or unclear. This gentle trust transforms everything. Decisions become simpler because you listen deeply rather than anxiously forcing outcomes. Relationships become richer because you honor their natural rhythms rather than imposing expectations. Your days become calmer because you flow with life's currents rather than swimming exhaustively against them. Yet learning to let life unfold naturally is challenging. It requires immense trust and courage. Your mind will resist, insisting that life needs your force, your control, your effort. Society reinforces this belief at every turn, but each time you practice surrender, each time you loosen your grip and trust life's unfolding, you discover peace, clarity, and profound freedom. When you trust life fully, you realize clearly, everything you genuinely need arrives exactly when it's meant to. Each experience, each relationship, each moment unfolds perfectly, precisely at the right time. You don't have to force opportunities, they emerge naturally when you're ready. You don't have to push through uncertainty, clears naturally when you stop resisting. You don't have to control outcomes, life itself guides you toward your highest good. Buddhist wisdom teaches profoundly about the nature of impermanence. Everything is constantly shifting, changing, evolving. Relationships, emotions, situations, even your sense of self. Trying to hold life still, to fix it in one particular form or outcome, is exhausting and ultimately futile. But when you trust life's unfolding, impermanence becomes beautiful. You savor each moment deeply, knowing it won't last forever. You cherish relationships fully, understanding they'll naturally shift and evolve. You live with gentle gratitude, honoring each fleeting experience as sacred. Trusting life's unfolding also means trusting your own inner timing. You don't rush your growth. You don't compare your path to others, believing you should be further along or somewhere else. You trust your unique rhythm, your own natural pace, your own perfect timing. You allow yourself to evolve gently, patiently, organically, without forcing artificial timelines or expectations. When you let life unfold naturally, you become deeply present in each moment. You no longer postpone happiness or peace, believing they await you somewhere else, sometime else. You discover peace exactly, here exactly now within your breath, within the quiet spaces between your thoughts, within the gentle presence of this moment exactly as it is. You also discover resilience. When challenges arise, you don't panic, resist, or rush into solutions. You pause, breathe, and trust life's guidance. You know that even difficulties carry purpose, teaching you patience, compassion, and deepening your wisdom. You trust life's rhythm completely, knowing every storm eventually passes, every winter eventually gives way to spring. Ultimately, letting life unfold naturally means surrendering to a higher intelligence, the innate wisdom that guides rivers, shapes mountains, grows forests, and gently unfolds your own life's journey. You don't need to fully understand this wisdom intellectually. You only need to trust it deeply. You only need to listen carefully, respond gently, and trust fully in its guidance. Imagine clearly how your life transforms when you trust its natural unfolding. Decisions feel simpler, clearer, guided by intuition rather than anxiety. Relationships deepen because you honor their natural rhythms and evolution. Your days become calmer, your heart softer, your mind quieter because you're no longer fighting life, but flowing with it gracefully. If you're currently struggling to trust life's unfolding, pause gently right now. Take a slow, deep breath, touch your heart softly, and whisper gently to yourself, "I release my need to control. I trust life's natural unfolding. I allow life's wisdom to guide me gently and perfectly." Let these words soothe your anxiety, soften your heart, and quiet your mind. Allow yourself to relax into trust, surrender, and peace, knowing deeply that your life is unfolding exactly as it must, guided by an intelligence infinitely wiser than your own understanding. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to push or strain. You simply have to trust deeply, breathe gently, and flow naturally with life's wise current. Your path is sacred, unfolding perfectly in each gentle moment of surrender. Trust fully. Breathe deeply. Surrender gently. Your life is unfolding exactly as it must, naturally, perfectly, beautifully. You are guided beyond measure. You are safe beyond knowing. You don't need all the answers to move forward. There is a quiet kind of fear that grips us when we face uncertainty. A subtle anxiety that whispers insistently, "Wait until you have all the answers before taking another step." We convince ourselves that before we can heal, before we can love again, before we can truly live, we must first know precisely what comes next. We wait for perfect clarity, absolute certainty, flawless understanding, and in this waiting, life passes us by moment by precious moment. Yet Buddhism, with its gentle wisdom, quietly reminds us of a profound truth. You don't need all the answers to move forward. You don't need complete clarity to begin walking your path. You don't need perfect certainty to trust the journey unfolding before you. In fact, true healing, growth, and awakening occur not because you have answers, but precisely because you're brave enough to move forward without them. Life itself is inherently mysterious, filled with uncertainties, unanswered questions, and unpredictable turns. No amount of planning, analyzing, or waiting will ever erase this essential mystery. Yet within this mystery lies life's greatest beauty and deepest wisdom. Within uncertainty lies possibility. Within not knowing lies openness. Within the unanswered questions lies your opportunity for growth, courage, and trust. Think of your life as a sacred journey through an uncharted forest. At times, the path before you seems clear, sunlight illuminating each step. But other times, the path grows dark, tangled, uncertain. You cannot see clearly what lies ahead. Yet, if you wait for perfect clarity, if you stand frozen, insisting on complete understanding, you'll remain trapped exactly where you are. Life asks gently, patiently, that you trust even when the path is unclear, that you take one small step, then another, guided not by perfect clarity, but by intuitive courage. You don't need to see the whole path clearly. You only need enough courage to take the next small step. Life unfolds gently, step by step, revealing itself gradually. Often, you won't fully understand why you're experiencing something until long afterward, when you look back with deeper wisdom. In the moment, confusion feels uncomfortable, but in hindsight, each uncertain step guided you exactly where you needed to be. This truth is beautifully embodied in Buddhist meditation practice. When you sit quietly, observing your breath and thoughts, you don't force immediate answers or perfect clarity. You simply witness. Thoughts arise, emotions flow, questions appear, yet you don't immediately solve them. You trust that clarity comes naturally with patience. You don't rush the process. You don't demand instant answers. Instead, you practice gentle acceptance of uncertainty, trusting that each breath, each moment, each unanswered question is guiding you perfectly. This practice extends naturally into daily life. When you face uncertainty, whether in relationships, career decisions, health, or personal growth, resist the temptation to panic or freeze. Instead, pause gently. Take a deep, calming breath. Remind yourself quietly, I don't need all the answers right now. I simply need enough courage to move forward one step at a time. The beauty of this understanding is that it liberates you from anxiety, fear, and paralysis. You don't have to figure everything out immediately. You don't need flawless clarity to begin your healing, to take action, to embrace joy, or to trust life. You can begin exactly where you are with all your confusion, doubts, and uncertainties, and move forward bravely anyway. Trust that answers, clarity, and understanding arrive naturally and organically as you walk your path, not before you begin, but precisely because you've dared to begin. Life reveals itself gradually, often through experience rather than intellect. You don't always understand logically why certain experiences happen, yet later, looking back, you see clearly how they guided you deeper, opened your heart, expanded your compassion, and deepened your wisdom. Yet, this truth can feel deeply uncomfortable at first. Our minds resist uncertainty fiercely. We crave logical explanations, clear answers, predictable outcomes. We equate confusion or doubt with failure or danger. But Buddhism gently teaches us to soften our resistance, to embrace uncertainty gently, to hold our unanswered questions with compassion rather than fear. In truth, uncertainty invites you into openness. When you don't know exactly what comes next, your heart remains open, your mind receptive, your spirit flexible. You listen more deeply, pay attention more fully, move through life with greater presence. You stop relying solely on intellectual understanding and begin trusting intuition, feelings, subtle inner nudges. You discover wisdom far deeper than logic wisdom born from intuitive listening, compassionate presence, and courageous trust. When you stop insisting on immediate clarity, you also stop suffering unnecessarily. So much anxiety arises from needing instant answers, from rushing impatiently to know exactly how things will unfold. But when you release this demand, anxiety quiets naturally. You become gentle with yourself, patient with your journey, trusting that life reveals clarity exactly when you're ready for it, not a moment sooner or later. This trust transforms your relationship to uncertainty. You no longer fear or resist it. You see it clearly as a teacher, guiding you gently into deeper awareness. You recognize uncertainty not as failure, but as invitation. Each unanswered question becomes sacred, each unknown step holy ground. You walk gently, patiently, humbly trusting life's innate wisdom, even when it's hidden from your immediate understanding. Buddhist teachings often speak of beginner's mind, an openness, curiosity, and humility that arises when you let go of needing immediate answers. Beginner's mind trusts life fully, without assumptions or preconceived notions. It experiences each moment freshly, clearly, unburdened by past conditioning or future expectations. Cultivating beginner's mind frees you profoundly, allowing you to live gently, compassionately, and bravely amidst uncertainty. Trust deeply that your unanswered questions are not problems, they're invitations. Invitations to deeper courage, compassion, trust, and wisdom. Invitations to soften your grip on life, to release control gently, to embrace the mystery fully. Invitations to experience peace exactly where you are, even amidst confusion or doubt. Your journey unfolds step by gentle step. You don't need clarity on every future moment, only courage in this present moment. Your life's path is perfectly designed, unfolding exactly as it must. Trust deeply that each uncertain step guides you toward deeper understanding, compassion, and wisdom. If you're currently facing uncertainty, pause gently. Take a slow, calming breath. Touch your heart softly and whisper quietly to yourself, "I don't need all the answers right now. I trust this moment fully. I move forward gently, courageously, one step at a time." Repeat this gently, allowing peace and courage to fill your being. Trust deeply that your unanswered questions are guiding you beautifully, that uncertainty is wisdom in disguise, and that each step, no matter how unclear, moves you perfectly forward. You don't have to know exactly where you're headed to trust you're guided. You don't need immediate clarity to embrace joy. You don't require flawless understanding to begin healing. Begin exactly where you are. Trust your gentle courage. Move forward softly. You don't need all the answers. You only need trust. Trust life's unfolding. Trust your timing. Trust uncertainty. Your path is perfectly unfolding, exactly as it must. You are guided beyond measure. You are safe beyond knowing. Welcome to your gentle, sacred journey. Your pain is a messenger, not an enemy. We often perceive pain as an intruder, an unwelcome guest arriving suddenly, disrupting our peace, shaking our sense of security, and causing fear and suffering. When pain arises, whether physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, our instinctive reaction is to resist, fight, numb, or escape it as quickly as possible. We view pain as an enemy, a problem to be solved, a barrier standing between us and happiness. Yet Buddhism, with profound compassion and wisdom, invites us to reframe our relationship to pain completely. It gently whispers an ancient transformative truth. Your pain is not your enemy, it is a messenger, a sacred guide, sent not to punish or torment you, but to awaken you, to deepen you, to reveal truths you might never discover in moments of ease and comfort. To understand this deeply, Consider that pain itself is neither good nor bad. It is simply energy, a signal alerting you to something within yourself or your life that requires compassionate attention, gentle care, or deeper understanding. Pain arises not to break you, but to guide you inward, to help you see what you've overlooked, ignored, or avoided. Pain does not arrive randomly. It appears precisely when and where you most need healing, awareness, or transformation. Yet, our conditioned response to pain is often resistance. We numb ourselves physically with substances, emotionally with distractions, mentally with denial or avoidance. We push pain away, believing that avoidance will keep us safe. But Buddhism gently teaches that avoidance only intensifies suffering. The more you resist pain's message, the louder it becomes. The more you push pain away, the more it persists, demanding your compassionate attention. Instead, Buddhism encourages a radically different approach, one of gentle presence, compassionate curiosity, and courageous openness. It invites you to meet pain not with fear or resistance, but with softness and understanding. To turn gently toward pain rather than away from it. To ask pain softly and humbly, "What are you here to teach me? What truth are you guiding me toward?" This gentle openness transforms your entire relationship to pain. You no longer see pain as punishment or obstacle. You see it clearly as messenger and guide. Pain arises precisely because it carries essential wisdom you need for deeper healing, greater clarity, or profound transformation. Pain comes to reveal what comfort and ease alone cannot. It exposes hidden wounds, buried grief, suppressed emotions, unmet needs, guiding you gently inward toward the deeper layers of your being. Of course, embracing pain's message is challenging. Our natural instinct is comfort-seeking. Pain feels uncomfortable, unfamiliar, frightening. Yet, it is precisely because pain challenges us that it holds such transformative power. Pain pushes you beyond your comfort zone, beyond your familiar identity, forcing you to confront what you've long avoided or ignored. Think back to the most meaningful moments in your life, the experiences that shaped you profoundly, expanded your compassion, deepened your wisdom. Often, these experiences involved pain. Not easy comfort, but moments of struggle, loss, grief, or challenge. Moments when you faced pain bravely, felt it fully, learned its lessons, and emerged transformed. Pain taught you compassion by revealing your vulnerability. Pain taught you strength by showing you how to face uncertainty. Pain taught you wisdom by guiding you inward to truths you'd long overlooked. Buddhist meditation beautifully embodies this gentle openness toward pain. When you meditate, pain sometimes arises: physical discomfort, emotional sorrow, mental anxiety. Yet instead of immediately resisting or numbing pain, you observe it gently, compassionately, curiously. You ask pain softly, "What are you showing me? Where do I need healing or awareness?" With patience and presence, pain's message becomes clear, guiding you precisely toward deeper compassion, clarity, and peace. This practice extends naturally into daily life. When pain arises, relationship difficulties, grief, anxiety, physical discomfort, resist immediate resistance. Instead, pause gently, breathe deeply. Place your hand over your heart. Whisper softly to pain, "I hear you, I honor you. What are you here to teach me?" Trust fully that pain carries sacred guidance, insights, awareness, compassion you might never discover without its arrival. Yet, embracing pain's wisdom requires immense courage and trust. Your mind will resist fiercely, insisting pain is harmful, dangerous, or meaningless. Society reinforces this belief, promoting constant comfort and immediate gratification. But each time you gently embrace pain's message, each time you listen compassionately rather than resist fearfully, you discover peace, clarity, and wisdom far deeper than avoidance or comfort could ever provide. This gentle openness also profoundly deepens your compassion for yourself and others. Having faced your own pain bravely, you understand others' pain more deeply. Your heart softens, your judgments fade, your empathy expands. Pain connects you intimately to all beings who have ever suffered. It teaches you universal compassion, deep humility, profound interconnectedness. Buddhist teachings speak profoundly of pain's transformative power. The Buddha himself began his spiritual journey precisely because he witnessed suffering firsthand. His path to enlightenment arose directly from pain's message: compassion for all beings, awareness of life's impermanence, liberation from suffering's causes. Pain guided him inward to deeper truths, deeper compassion, deeper awakening. Your own life mirrors this sacred journey. Your pain, however uncomfortable, frightening, or intense, carries the same transformative potential. Pain guides you inward, helps you understand yourself and others more deeply, reveals wisdom you never imagined possible. Pain opens your heart, deepens your presence, expands your compassion, awakens your spirit. Pain does not diminish you, reveals your deepest resilience, courage, and wisdom. Yet, remember gently that pain's purpose isn't perpetual suffering, it's compassionate guidance. Once you've heard pain's message clearly, once you've embraced its lesson, understood its wisdom, released your resistance, pain naturally softens and releases its grip. Pain persists only until you've learned its essential message. Once compassionately acknowledged and honored, pain's energy transforms into deeper peace, greater clarity, profound healing. Trust deeply that pain's arrival signals you're ready to heal or grow in profound ways. Pain emerges precisely when your heart is ready to open wider, your spirit ready to deepen, your awareness ready to expand. Pain isn't punishment, it's sacred preparation. It's life's compassionate way of guiding you precisely where you need healing or transformation most urgently. If you're currently experiencing pain, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, pause gently right now. Take a slow, calming breath. Touch your heart softly. Whisper quietly to pain, "I hear you. I honor your presence. What wisdom do you bring me now?" Let these gentle words open your heart softly, shift your relationship to pain compassionately, help you embrace pain's message courageously. Trust fully that pain carries sacred guidance, healing truths, compassionate wisdom you're ready to hear clearly. Pain is your guide, your messenger, your sacred teacher, not your enemy. Embrace pain gently, compassionately, courageously. Trust pain's wisdom completely. Your path unfolds precisely through pain's transformative messages, guiding you deeper inward, opening your heart wider, expanding your compassion profoundly. Trust pain's wisdom. Trust your courage. Trust life's compassionate guidance. You're exactly where you need to be guided beautifully by pain's sacred message. Welcome to deeper healing. Welcome to greater compassion. Welcome to profound awakening. Your pain carries your deepest wisdom. Trust its message fully. You are guided. You are held. You are safe beyond measure. Even your emptiness is full of meaning. There are seasons in life when you feel hollow. You wake up and nothing moves you. Nothing excites you. You eat, you speak, you walk, you sleep, but it's as though something vital inside you has gone quiet. There is no desire, no passion, no clarity. You're not exactly in pain, but you're not at peace either. It's a silence that sits too heavy, a space too still. You begin to wonder if something is wrong with you. In the modern world, we're taught that meaning must always look like movement, like goals being chased, like loud laughter, like success being built brick by brick. But Buddhism offers a deeper wisdom, far quieter and more enduring. It teaches, even your emptiness is full of meaning. This emptiness, this vast, aching silence inside you, is not a sign of failure or spiritual decline. It is a sacred space, a profound opening, a silent temple within the heart, where your old self dissolves and a new self begins to take shape, not through effort, but through quiet surrender. This is the heart of the Buddhist concept of shunyata, or emptiness. But emptiness in Buddhism does not mean nihilism or that life is meaningless. It means freedom from fixed form, freedom from clinging, freedom from illusions of permanence. In emptiness, everything is in flux, everything is potential, everything is possible. Your emptiness is not a void, it is fertile soil. It is the space where the false identities you've carried for years have finally fallen away, and the seeds of who you truly are just beginning to sprout. But because you cannot yet see those sprouts, you assume there's nothing growing. This is the mistake many people make. They feel emptiness and immediately try to fill it with noise, with relationships, with overwork, with endless distractions. The world tells you to stay busy, to get over it, to be productive. But when you interrupt the sacred process of emptiness, you rob yourself of one of the most profound spiritual awakenings a human being can have. You are not broken because you feel empty. You are becoming. Think of a snake shedding its skin. For a time, the old layer of self peels away, and in that transition, the snake does not move swiftly or confidently. It slows down, it hides, it rests. Not because it is weak, but because transformation requires stillness. Or consider the winter forest. After the leaves fall and the branches go bare, the forest seems dead. But beneath the soil, roots are alive and working, nourishing themselves, preparing for rebirth. The silence is not absence. It is preparation. Your emptiness is doing the same. Beneath the quiet, something is forming. Beneath the numbness, something is healing. Your soul is remembering itself. But to hear it, you must stop resisting the silence. You must stop trying to escape. You must enter it, gently, bravely, like stepping into a vast, moonlit temple with no walls, no floor, and no ceiling. You must sit in the middle of that sacred stillness and whisper, "I trust that even this emptiness has meaning." It is in that moment of surrender that the truth begins to unfold. Because what you're experiencing now is not the end of your story, it is the space between chapters. The pages have not stopped turning. They are simply paused, waiting for you to stop grasping at the old plot, waiting for you to quiet your mind and open your heart wide enough to welcome the new. This kind of silence, this kind of holy emptiness, a teacher that few people honor. But it is one of the most compassionate teachers you will ever meet. It teaches you to let go of your attachment to constant motion. It teaches you that being is just as sacred as doing. It teaches you that stillness is not the opposite of life, but the doorway into its deepest wisdom. In meditation, you encounter this truth clearly. When you sit still, focusing on your breath, there comes a point where thoughts quiet down and space opens up inside you. At first, that space feels eerie-like, a place where nothing is happening. But if you keep sitting, if you keep breathing, you begin to feel something more subtle. Presence, awareness, a gentle, luminous sense of simply being. That still space inside you, that's where truth lives. It is from that place that compassion arises, not just toward others, but toward yourself. You stop needing to constantly fix, improve, explain, or understand everything. You begin to accept. You begin to listen. You begin to realize that your worth was never dependent on how busy you were or how much you achieved. Your worth was always here in your presence, in your breath, in your still, silent awareness. That realization changes everything. You start to walk slower, not because you've lost your way, but because you're no longer in a hurry to prove something. You begin to speak more gently, not because you're unsure, but because you've realized how much power exists in quiet words. You become softer toward yourself. You forgive yourself for not having all the answers. You allow yourself to not be on all the time. You begin to trust life. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you start to feel the first sparks of meaning returning not from the outside, but from deep within. A subtle desire to paint, to walk in nature, to write, to reconnect, to breathe more fully. It's not a roar, it's a whisper. But it's enough. This is how your soul begins to rise again, not through force, but through trust. The emptiness begins to feel less like a void and more like a womb. A space of birth, a space of restoration, a space where your truest self is being woven together in silence. So if you're in a season of emptiness right now, please do not rush it. Do not label it depression too quickly. Do not fill it with noise too desperately. Do not escape it so fast that you miss the sacredness of what it holds. Sit with it. Breathe into it. Listen to what it wants to show you. And know this: your emptiness is not your enemy. It is your rebirth. It is the teacher that removes everything false, so only the true can remain. It is the silence that helps you finally hear yourself again. It is the night before the dawn. And dawn is coming. It always does. But this silence you feel, this space you think means something is wrong. It is not darkness. It is depth. It is not nothingness. It is the beginning of everything. You are not lost. You are being remade. Trust the space. Trust the silence. Trust the emptiness. Because it is not empty at all. It is full of meaningful, of promiseful, of the most sacred kind of becoming. Nothing lasts, but nothing is lost. We live much of our lives clutching tightly, holding on to people, to memories, to identities, to moments we're afraid to lose. We cling because we love, because we've suffered, because something mattered deeply. We want the beautiful to stay. We want the painful to disappear forever. We want certainty in a world that offers none. And so we suffer because we resist the flow of time. Buddhism offers us a teaching that at first feels like both a comfort and a wound. Anicame permanence. Nothing lasts. Everything you love will change. Every pain you feel will soften. Every joy you hold will fade. Every moment, no matter how perfect or how hard, will pass. This can seem like a heartbreak. But when looked at with deeper eyes, it becomes the very root of peace. Impermanence is not a punishment. It is a gift. Because if nothing lasts, then no pain can trap you. No failure defines you forever. No loss is the final word. Time, like a river, carries everything: grief, joy, beauty, sorrow, constantly transforming it, softening sharp edges, guiding even the heaviest emotions into gentler waters. But there is another truth hidden quietly within impermanence. Nothing is truly lost. This is not a contradiction, it is a deeper understanding. The people you've loved and lost, they are still with you, not in the same form, but in the echo of their laugh, when you smile without realizing, in the choices you make because of what they taught you. In the way your eyes water when you hear a certain song, they are in the warmth that lingers after a memory rises and fades. The moments that passed too quickly, they shaped you. They became a part of your body, your thoughts, your spirit. You may not be living those moments now, but you are living because of them. They dissolved into your soul, like sunlight dissolves into the skin, not visible, but forever present. Your past selves, the versions of you who tried, who failed, who laughed, who cried, are not lost. They live in the way you pause before you speak now, In the way you understand sadness when you see it in someone else's eyes, in the silent strength you carry without bragging. They live in your kindness, in your awareness, in your quiet depth. Nothing you've lived is wasted. Nothing disappears without leaving behind something sacred. Buddhism teaches us to stop clinging, because clinging causes suffering, not because we must forget or erase, but because we must make room for flow. Because when you cling, you trap yourself in time. You stop flowing with life. You stop evolving. You stop receiving. But when you let go, no in bitterness, but in reverence, you allow things to continue their sacred transformation within you. The flower falls, but the fruit grows. The sun sets, but the moon rises. The child you were is gone, but the wisdom they gained is still yours. When we allow life to move through us, instead of trying to hold it still, we begin to experience something extraordinary. Peace, even in change. Joy, even in goodbye. Connection, even in absence. Meditation teaches this gently. As you sit in stillness, thoughts arise and fall. Emotions rise and fade. You do not stop them, you watch them, welcome them, let them pass. In doing so, you realize something radical. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the one who witnesses. You are the space they pass through. And the same is true in life. You are not the moments. You are the awareness in which those moments live. The experiences pass, but the awareness remains. It deepens. It expands. It becomes more luminous, more compassionate, more alive. This is the miracle of impermanence. Even as things fade, they leave light behind, and in that light we grow. Look around you. The seasons change. The trees shed their leaves, only to bloom again. Rivers dry and refill. Mountains crumble and rise. The universe itself is in constant movement, stars exploding, galaxies forming, light traveling for billions of years to kiss your skin for one brief second. Life is always vanishing and always arriving. And you are not separate from this. Your sadness, your joy, your longing, your stillness, they are part of the great cycle. Your losses are not final. Your joys are not fleeting. They are phases of a dance that continues, forever changing steps, changing rhythm, but never stopping. What if, instead of mourning change, we bowed to it? What if we honored impermanence as a sacred teacher? What if we whispered, "Thank you," to what left, not because we're glad it's gone, but because it came at all? You can begin this practice now. When you feel something beautiful ending a friendship, a moment, a season pause, place your hand over your heart, breathe in and say, "This is passing, and I am grateful it was here." When you feel sadness rise, breathe into it, not to push it away, but to welcome it, to learn from it, to let it teach you how to love more deeply. When you feel joy, savor it fully, not to keep it, but to let it fully live before it goes. This is what freedom looks like, living so fully in each moment that you no longer fear its passing, because you know that even as it fades, it becomes part of you. Nothing lasts, but nothing is lost. The people you've loved, the ones you still long for, they are not gone. They are inside you now, not in the way you want, not in flesh, but in breath, in memory, in wisdom. The dreams you had that didn't come true, they shaped the ones you have now. They taught you what mattered, what didn't, and how to dream with both your feet on the ground. The pain you suffered, it didn't destroy you. It deepened you. It carved space inside you for more compassion, more tenderness, more light. So nothing lasts. But that's not the tragedy we think it is. It's the reason life is sacred, because it teaches us to cherish, to breathe fully, to love now, to weep freely, to forgive quickly, to say what matters, while we still can. To see every sunrise as a gift, every goodbye as a prayer, every moment as something precious enough to live, even though we know we cannot keep it. This is the gift of impermanence. It turns life into art. Because it is fleeting, it is beautiful. Because it changes, it is real. Because we cannot hold it, we must be it. So let go not in despair, but in reverence. Let go so you can truly live. You are not losing, you are becoming. You are not watching things disappear. You are watching them become part of something larger. You, the one who is still here, the one who carries all of it, and keeps going. Not empty, but full of everything that ever was, and everything that still waits for you. Nothing lasts, but nothing is ever lost. There is a kind of quiet wisdom that cannot be taught in classrooms or captured in words. It comes slowly, patiently, not when life is loud and rushing, but when everything has fallen silent. It arrives when the world you knew dissolves, when your identity unravels, when your strength feels thin and your heart feels tired. It arrives in the emptiness. And that's where this journey began, didn't it? With a sense that life had grown hollow, that something inside you had gone still. You weren't chasing answers, you were simply trying to breathe. You weren't looking for motivation, you were reaching for something real, something true, something that didn't disappear the moment you closed your eyes. You came here not for escape, but for remembrance. And now, after walking gently through all these principles, something inside you knows. You were never broken. You were simply becoming. Buddhism doesn't promise you perfection. It doesn't offer you a step-by-step plan to eternal happiness. What it gives you is something far more enduring: awareness. Presence. A soft light that helps you see the sacred even in your suffering. A deep knowing that life was never supposed to be constant, it was supposed to be awake. Yes, life will always change. Yes, people will leave, dreams will shift, and emotions will rise and fall like the tides. But you now understand that impermanence is not a threat, it's the heartbeat of transformation. You now know that your sadness is not your weakness, it is a doorway, that your emptiness is not a void, it's a womb for rebirth, that pain does not arrive to punish but to awaken, that confusion is not the absence of wisdom, but the space where deeper truths are born. You have discovered that letting go is not defeat, it is the beginning of peace. You've seen that your quiet moments matter, that your stillness is sacred, that you don't need to rush to fix yourself or prove yourself or understand everything at once. You've learned that even when you feel lost, something ancient and compassionate is still guiding you from within, from beyond, from all around. And perhaps most importantly, you've begun to trust the deeper rhythm of life. You've stopped needing all the answers to take a step forward. You've stopped trying to build your worth on how much you produce or how strong you appear. You've learned to sit in silence without fear, to breathe through sadness without drowning, to move through uncertainty with grace, to befriend yourself fully as you are, not as you think you should be. You've learned to see beauty in things others miss, in the falling leaf, in the still teacup, in the long pause between thoughts. You've slowed down enough to notice the small voice inside you, the one that doesn't shout, but gently knows. This is what transformation really looks like, not grand, sudden eruptions of change, but a slow, sacred reweaving of the soul. Not becoming someone else, but finally remembering who you already are beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the forgetting. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be present. You are not here to escape suffering. You are here to walk through it awake and come out softer, deeper, wiser. You are not here to impress anyone. You are here to love, to notice, to live. And as you return now to your daily life after this journey through emptiness, pain, surrender, silence, and awakening, carry this one truth with you. Nothing you've gone through was wasted. Every moment mattered. Every sadness shaped you. Every quiet night rebuilt you. Every breath you took when it felt pointless was still a prayer your soul understood. Even your mistakes carried light. Even your numbness whispered truth. Even your falling was part of your rising. And so now, you don't have to rush anymore. You don't have to chase, or beg, or prove, or force. You only have to return to yourself again and again and again. Because the peace you seek is not out there. It's in this breath, this moment, this awareness, this being. So when life gets hard again, and it will remember, you have walked through the dark before. You have sat in silence and found meaning. You have faced the emptiness and discovered it was not empty after all. You have let go and risen. And you will again. You are not a problem to be solved. You are not a broken thing to be fixed. You are a river flowing, a mountain shifting, a soul unfolding. You are life, remembering itself. And no matter what happens next, this will always be true. You were never alone. You were never lost. You were always on your way home.